I'm ready. I am supposed to checkmate black. Okay, I know that queen could go here, but then, the knight. The black knight can stop me if I go here. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Yay! I got it. All right, this is easy. Next one. White to play and win. Okay. Well, I can go here. Oh. Something with the knight. I know it's something with the knight, but I can't take this. Oh, why didn't I do that? Magnus Carlsen, Sergei Karyakin, New York, 2016. I was in New York when he played this game. I should know what he did. Okay, I'm just gonna go for queen here. Needs to be something with the queen. If queen goes here, then king can take the queen. What other pieces do I have? I also, I'm gonna try the queen here. And I did it! Yay! I'm just as good as the world champion Magnus Carlsen. That's the feeling I have anyway. I'm gonna study on Chessable every day.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the endgame with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Hello everyone and welcome back. We are about to kick off the next match, Hikaru versus Fedoseev. And let's welcome Peter first. Peter, we have been reunited way before we were expecting it.
Yeah, hi Tanya, hello everyone.
So Peter, did you watch the Magnus Artemiev match before?
Not the entire match, but yeah, I have seen quite a bit of it. It had been an incredible fight. I mean, I don't think that the final result does any justice to the fight that we have seen there, because Artemiev was very, very close in so many games, at least what I have seen. But what I kind of felt, or what I witnessed, that Magnus, with his very, very few seconds on the clock, was somehow turning a lot of losing position into wins, not just saving them, but even winning them, and that turned decisive.
Yeah, I think the match was actually much more close than the actual result implied. Lots of winning positions by Artemiev and winning by material, which was quite surprising to see him not converting, but Magnus with his Magnus touch, managing to turn things around at the end. But Peter, the next match, which is about to start, which is our other quarters match. Let's get the graphic up for where we stand with the selection and where we are with the Speed Chess Championship. So as we can see, we've got Hikaru up against Fedoseev, and the winner of that, Peter, is going to face the winner of the Skilling Open, Wesley So. So it's quite an exciting matchup, and also because these two players participated in the Swiss Open of the Speed Chess Championship Selection Qualifier Tournament, and Hikaru finished first and Fedoseev finished second. They had the final. It was excruciatingly nail-biting. So definitely, I would say that Hikaru is a favorite here, but Fedoseev, being the underdog, cannot be underestimated. He's very, very strong as well. How do you feel about this matchup, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be the true online blitz match, because we have been covering the Champions Tour, and there, whenever we came to the to the blitz section, it had a completely different fundament, because it was a rapid game and then the blitz games were deciding it, but it was just 1 or 2 blitz game, and also with a different time control and with more increment. I mean, here, let's not forget that it's always just 1 second increment, which means that basically this increment is only very important so that you can win with very big material advantage. However, it never really helps you to save time. And in this regard, I feel that in order that Fedoseev gets a chance in this match, he has to be very fast. And we know from Hikaru that usually he plays at an incredible pace. So I believe that we will see a completely different matchup compared to the Magnus versus Artemiev game, where many games kind of went quite quickly to this final stage of blitzing. And I believe that here the players will be much faster right from the beginning. This is at least Fedoseev's chance. He's a very big fighter, and I do think that Hikaru is clearly the favorite. He's monster in this format, and probably this is the best, the most suitable format for Hikaru. Just play as many blitz games online as possible. But Fedoseev also had been very active lately. I mean, the last half year, I think he was non-stop constantly playing in all these speed chess championships, so he must have got quite an experience.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you, Peter, that this 1 second increment is just about enough to make a move. And we saw so many turnarounds in the previous match that it shows that perhaps even with heavy piece advantage and material advantage, anything can happen. I think I'm looking at the chat and I see that Riska Kaur has said that Fedoseev has impressed a lot in the title Tuesday. Wouldn't surprise me if he wins. I think both these players are extremely strong. I think the previous title Tuesday, it was actually Hikaru who won it. So we all know what a beast he is when it comes to blitz. And then when it goes from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, Hikaru gets stronger. And then when it goes from 3 minutes to bullet, he's an absolute beast. I'm going to say, Peter, that Fedoseev's chance would be being the underdog in this match. It would be amazing if he scores big. But I think he has to try and get an early lead, especially in that 5 minute segment. I believe that if Hikaru takes a good amount of lead by, let's say, 2 points or more, then it's going to be very difficult to beat him in a 3 minute and a 1 minute bullet match.
Yeah, also there is this tendency that whenever you finish a game, and this is a big contrast compared to the broadcast that we have been doing in all the tours, that one game follows the other. So there is just no way to recover. And if you start losing against a player like Nakamura, probably you can just lose all the games, without doing anything bad. It just comes automatically. At the end of the day, you will see 0 next to your name. And you will be wondering, what have I done? I played a good game. And that's why it's really very vital to start good. I mean, to get a lead, of course, this is a dream scenario. It's not easy to get a lead, of course, against Hikaru. But yeah, right from the start, Fedoseev has to signal that he's in the match. He wants to win it. And if I remember correctly, then in this very close match against Alireza Firuza, Fedoseev kind of went on winning the match, leading throughout, and always Alireza doing the catch-up. And then we have witnessed this incredible drama that at the end of the day, Alireza came back, but finally lost the extra time playoff. So yeah, a lot of dramas are possible.
Lot of dramas are possible. I think we should have liftoff anytime now. Let's just get that graphic up about the time control and what's to expect in about 2-3 minutes. So this is how it is. 16-player knockout. We're in the quarterfinals. We're going to have 90 minutes. The first 90 minutes, we're going to see blitz of 5 minutes with a 1 second increment. For the next hour, we're going to see blitz of 3 minutes with a 1 second increment. And for the next 30 minutes, it's bullet with a 1 second increment. And I think a very important point in this is that we've been seeing blitz with 3 seconds increment and so on. But I think 1 second, as Peter rightly pointed out, is just about enough to make that move. So, it's it really doesn't mean anything. This is going to be an absolute rush to watch. And really, it's all about speed. And I think, Peter, in this format, the clock is just about as important as the position on the board. And
Yeah, go on, Tanya.
Yeah, and I think it's extremely important, especially with a player against Hikaru, to not give him that time advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I believe that they have played quite a lot of games. So by now, Fedoseev should get at least the feeling that what is the way how to play in order to get a chance against Hikaru. It's one thing if you succeed or not, but at least you have this feeling, yeah, that you tried already a couple of things which, for example, did not work. Then some things did work or gave you a good feeling, and it's basically all about imposing your will. Yeah, if finally Fedoseev will suddenly come up with a strategy that he will feel happy out of the openings. He can play very, very quickly. The middle game type of positions, he can avoid all kind of dangers from Hikaru. I mean, Hikaru is so good in creating a big mess. In this regard, let me also mention that Fedoseev's big strength is chaos. He just loves chaos, and he excels in chaos. In this regard, I expect a really entertaining match. I don't know what the score gonna be. Definitely Hikaru being the favorite, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that we will be entertained to an incredible level today.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chat, Peter, and I think it's the same feeling that, it's difficult to really predict what will happen. Hikaru is the favorite. Like you said, Fedoseev has strengths. I think Hikaru's strength is just overall speed chess. He's won the speed chess championship in 2018 and in 2019, but both these years Magnus did not participate in them. When he did participate, it was back in 2017, the last time he did play in speed chess, and that year it was the final between Magnus and Hikaru, and Magnus won that. But for now, this is the quarters we had. By the way, we might see a finals between these two players, Magnus and Hikaru, because Peter, they're at the opposite end. They're in the opposite brackets. So we might be treated to that, but also take a look at what's coming up next. Whoever wins this match faces Wesley. So, and Wesley, as we can see, is in absolute top-notch form. Also, I just realized, Peter, that Magnus's win against Artemiev is a good way to start his 30s. Not such a good way how he ended them, but a good way to start his 30s.
Yeah, definitely. It was now his first winning match. On the other hand, one can say that it was more difficult chess-wise. I mean, result-wise, it was fine, but chess-wise, it wasn't so impressive. So I believe Magnus cannot feel completely satisfied yet in his 30s, and I want to see him win more convincingly in the future.
Right, and I'm also seeing that apparently Jan has instructed the chat to ask you questions about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. What is that about, Peter?
Well, I mean, I have been commenting with Jan in the Grenke Classic, and there was a moment when suddenly we started, discussing that who knows more titles about Van Damme movies. And it turned out that we are quite some specialists, and Jan actually won that contest, which I felt, it's kind of embarrassing because I'm quite good at it. But the point is, when I, as a kid, watched those movies, I knew the titles very well in Hungarian. And then at some point, I lost the control, while Jan kept on, hitting on me. And okay, I was truly impressed with his knowledge. In this sense, let me also just say that I have been watching their broadcast with Peter, and it was an incredible show. It was such a pleasure to see Jan and Peter back. So congratulations, guys, and we will try to keep the level up.
And yes, big shoes to fill in, and we're going to try our best. I think we've got lift off now, and here we go.
Yeah. Suddenly, I was completely shocked. I see Big Fish 1995 being the guy on the black side, and then I remembered. Yeah, of course, I know that this is Fedoseev, but still, it was kind of very, very funny. And look at this. It basically, I cannot believe that this is true. I'm pretty sure that Hikaru has played already some move. Maybe we have some technical issue. I mean, however, Bishop G5 played, or maybe not. Maybe simply Hikaru felt like, okay, look at this. Fedoseev is ready to go for some incredible opening clash. And Hikaru was thinking, okay, I'm not ready for it psychologically yet for the first game. Let me see a way how I can just try to play chess. We are seeing the Moscow variation. I mean, I'm always, in this opening confused that what is the anti-Moscow and what is the Moscow, because for me it's very strange that by capturing on f6, giving up the bishop is the Moscow, and if you play the gambit with bishop h4, that's the anti-Moscow, because as a Sveshnikov and as a Marshall player, it was kind of natural that if they go with the main line, then it's the main opening, and anything else is the anti, and here it's exactly vice versa.
All right, and Peter, we see this often enough in this line that black goes queen f6, trades off, and then come back to e7. And the idea is that sometimes you want to bring your knight to f6, and the queen on f6 is not ideally placed, because when white is going to go e4 with the pawn, you want to aim at e5 as well. So queen on e7 is much better placed than on f6, and it's not a waste of move. White also playing developing moves, bringing the rook into the center. Wants to go e4 next. How is black planning to continue now?
Yeah, a little bit I'm confused with this bishop on d6, because usually in this opening, black aims to go g6 and put the bishop on the long diagonal with bishop g7. And then black goes back with the queen to e7. So we have exactly the same position, but with the bishop instead of on d6 being on g7 and black's pawn on g6. And I believe that this small little factor changes many, many things. All the plans are different. Hikaru also places the queen to d3, not on e2, which is kind of the natural square on e2 or on c2 once black puts the pawn on g6. But here he kind of feels that maybe somewhere after some a3, bishop a2, he might be able to use some bishop b1 at some point, hinting at queen h7. He might be also looking for some other things. In any case, the queen on d3, also eyeing the bishop on d6, so any kind of breaks with c6, c5 will not be so easy, because then some light square might be hit on d6 or d7. So it's small little finesse, but it makes a lot of sense.
Bishop b7 continuing to develop. Of course, black's dream in these positions is to get a successful c5 or an e5 break. And if he's able to do that, he solves all his problems. Ideally c5, because then you really open that bishop on b7. On a move like c5, white's dream reply is to go d5. So black always has to watch out that white doesn't get a successful d5 as a reply when he does go c5. Bishop a6 to trade it off immediately.
Yeah, I mean, this bishop a6 move is a very standard move. I mean, very, very natural. On the other hand, exactly in this moment, I'm not 100% sure that it was necessary. Definitely, it gives a small plus. I was just feeling that, the way black was playing quite provocatively, maybe there is a chance for white to play for something more. But let's not forget, this is a blitz game. I mean, this is not classical, not even rapid. So if Hikaru feels like, I just want to play an easy position and I don't want to spend too much time on my decisions, then bishop a6 is a perfectly understandable choice.
Yeah, and it's a long night ahead. You want to start off without perhaps taking too many risks and just play the logical moves. Trading off this bishop makes a lot of sense. That bishop on c4 is already blocked by these pawns on e6 and f7, and the bishop on b7 can be very dangerous once black gets c5. A very typical way to play as well, because this would weaken the c6 pawn after a trade. And for black to solve that is not so easy. c5 is always met by d5. So I think, Peter, here black has two options. Either you go knight f6 or take the bishop on a6 directly.
Yeah, it's a big question, and we see that this small little move, bishop a6, forced Fedoseev to think already for more than 50 seconds. In this regard, bishop a6 had been a fantastic move. That's all you need, because with 1 second on the increment, your opponent will never be able to gather more and more time. I was also expecting the move knight f6, but rook ab8 played.
Rook ab8 played, and like you said, this small move has made Fedoseev go into a big think tank, and he burnt a lot of time on his clock. And now down to less than 2 minutes, he trades it off. Is he going to go queen a6 or not? Perhaps queen a6 can also be met by a strange but possible knight b8.
Yeah, and okay, basically now you don't really need to go with the queen so far, because yeah, queen a6 can be nicely met by knight b8. It kicks away. The knight on d7 anyway was doing not much. I think that here simply, I mean, just keeping the position knight e4, would be natural, and knight e4 played. I mean, increasing the pressure, hitting on c6, making sure that you press the bishop on d6. It's black who has to make difficult choices. Okay, rook c8 played. White will make some useful move, maybe h3, maybe a3, whatever, and just increase the pressure.
So now White has got a plan to even double up on the c file. Potentially, he's gone for rook c2. Perhaps wants to play rook c1 next, putting pressure on the c pawn. And once again, a move like he's gone rook c7, expecting rook c1 played. The question really in these positions is always, can black go c5 or e5? And because it can be met with a move like d5, he decides to trade off the knights with knight f6. I think the more pieces that trade off, life becomes easier for black because he's got less space.
Yeah, and it's very important to eliminate this e4 knight, because once you trade this e4 knight off, then you might be threatening to go c6, c5, and black needs the freeing move c5 in order to solve his problems. And in this regard, knight f6 is a very natural move. Now Hikaru starts to think, I'm not 100% sure that this doubling on the c5 was such a good idea, because, okay, what do you achieve? You don't really achieve that much. And here, if you, for example, trade the knight on f6, black takes with the queen and then goes c6, c5, it's very nice that black is not pinned on the c5 because the d6 bishop protects the c7 rook. So black will be able to capture on d4. And Hikaru goes knight fd2, makes perfect sense. He wants to keep his knight on e4.
Yeah, I definitely like this move because the knight on e4 is your key piece, which kind of keeps the center together, makes it a little more complicated for black to get a successful c5 break. Black will always have to keep an eye out on the threat on the d6 bishop with dc5 if the knight is on e4. But look at this. Fedoseev goes c5 immediately. So the point is that if you take dc5, you're going to trade it with the bishop because otherwise the d6 bishop is attacked. So dc5 is met by bishop c5. And he doesn't care about trading all pieces because that should be fine for black. Queen d8, you've got king h7 in the end, everything under control. The one thing you don't want to do with black is get a pawn trade on c5 with dc5, bishop c5, knight c5, bc5, because then that would be a weakness all along. And white decides to trade the knight first.
Yeah, of course, Hikaru understands that he needs to eliminate this knight. On the other hand, okay, queen takes, or no, yeah, if you take with the pawn, then d4, d5 is probably possible, but even that is messy because then you might have some rook d8 pinning the queen. So it's, and Fedoseev takes time. Look at this, he's down to 35 seconds on the clock.
He needs to move fast, but I'm looking at the line queen f6, and if you take on c5, bishop c5, b4, you still have bishop d6 very luckily, or do you? Because there's knight e4.
Yeah, but at the end you have some back rank issues. Yeah, knight but you check on f6 with, yeah, you take on f6 with a check. Yeah, you
take on f6 with a check, so you have to go queen e7. It's perhaps still possible.
Yeah, but he has taken with the pawn.
Yes. Because I think this line was not working out because of tactics along this e4.
Yeah, finally also they just have not enough time to understand all the complicated tactics, and the chance of maybe blundering something is too high. And did Hikaru, he wants to go queen c8, but okay, this is fine for black. Bishop f4, and black can never be worse here. Queen queen b4 is played.
Knight f3.
But this queen b4 maybe was a mistake. This was a mistake, maybe.
And I think black has to be careful here, Peter.
Yeah, on the other hand, okay, his queen is quite strong, but
I like how white has killed the bishop with f2, g3, h2. So rook c3.
Yeah, but let's not forget it's like a bullet game. They are both down to 10 seconds each. So the big question is, now checkmate is...
Threatening mate.
Yeah, checkmate is kind of threatening f5, rook d7. This is now looking very good, yeah. Now Hikaru should be winning.
Picks up the a7 pawn. Just amazing, fantastic play by Hikaru. When he's down to seconds, he's just such a monster. just finding those threats, finding the most difficult moves to combat rook e5, and just look at the speed with which he's playing, just incredible.
Okay, he has to be also very fast, and Fedoseev is as fast as well, but simply his position is bad.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how he created this out of that position. It's just, and now threatening mate. Is there a way out of rook h4?
No, that's
Probably
game over.
not.
Yeah.
That's game over because rook h4 was mate. Amazing. So Hikaru finds a way to checkmate his opponent at the end. And as we can see, immediately we've got liftoff, Peter.
Yeah. This is what I have been talking about, that, yeah, this format is so brutal. I mean, this is a completely different discipline. I mean, just you finish a game, doesn't matter if you have won or lost. It was completely crazy. The next game starts immediately, no time to recover. You carry those emotions with you. I believe that in this sense, experience plays a very, very vital role, because if someone is simply not used to this, he is not able to handle it regardless of his real chess strengths.
Okay, I'm ready. I am supposed to checkmate black. Okay, I know that queen could go here, but then, the knight, the black knight can stop me if I go here. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Yay, I got it. All right, this is easy. Next one, white to play and win. Okay, well, I can go here. Oh, something with the knight. I know it's something with the knight, but I can't take this. Oh, why didn't I do that? Magnus Carlsen, Sergei Karyakin, New York, 2016. I was in New York when he played this game. I should know what he did. I should know what he did. Okay, I'm just gonna go for queen here. Needs to be something with the queen. Queen goes here, then king can take the queen. What other pieces do I have? I also, I'm gonna try the queen here. And I did it! Yay! I'm just as good as the world champion Magnus Carlsen. That's the feeling I have anyway. I'm going to study on Chessable every day.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the endgame with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at Chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
So this is the broadcast tool here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in all its glory. You can see the notation. You can also see the engine evaluation next to each move.
All right, and we are back. So Peter, what is the update on our position? I'm just trying to set it up.
The update is that Fedoseev is exchange done. He does have a pawn on for the exchange. I mean, the pawn on from h7 is missing. but and he has a stable bishop on the other hand with the open b file and this very powerful rook on b4 and this powerful queen on f6. I do believe that this is kind of technically winning for black. And this is...
Okay, I can finally see the position now. Yeah, so an exchange up, the H file is open, but it's perhaps not enough because you do have the option to go queen f1 now and threaten, but there's always queen h6 later on, so nothing to worry about. Looks like Hikaru is on his way to his second point.
Yeah, and what we have been talking before the match, that Fedoseev needs a good start. However, losing 2 games right at the very start in the 5 minutes portion, it's of course not an ideal scenario.
Also with Hikaru, right, the more confident he gets and the more he wins, he just goes into that zone and becomes more, and he becomes scarier and stronger then. I think with Hikaru, it's very important to sort of just, you know, get him off track of that comfort zone that he has by scoring a couple of wins early on. And if you're not able to do that, Hikaru is a very tough opponent. Bishop b5, just could also go for a queen trade with queen d2 simply. I wouldn't mind going into the endgame here.
Yeah, but I mean, black is just so dominant. Yeah, you can go g6, then put the king on g7, and you decide later if you're going to go for queen e4 check or you want to trade the queen, so you activate your rook with rook d5 and rook c5, for example. I mean, what you said, it's perfectly true. I feel like Hikaru is so used to of winning that basically when he starts to win, it's the most natural thing in the world for him. And that's why right from the beginning, you have to signal him and be successful that, no, my friend, I know that you are used to winning all these games. Today it's going to be different. And the way Fedoseev started this match, unfortunately, does not signal this. Nevertheless, okay, it's gonna be still kind of tough to convert. On the other hand, okay, we know that Hikaru is very good in handling the clock. That should not be an issue, and his technique is extremely good in online chess. And why I want to point out online chess, because yeah, you might have a very good technique in over the board play, but suddenly you might not be so sure how to play online with little time. I mean, believe me, Hikaru knows.
He definitely knows. He's also the world #1 blitz player, Peter, according to the rankings. He's world #1. I think Magnus is #2 and Maxime and Wesley are #3 and #4, and they're up there for a reason. So black what probably wants to do is go e5, king f6, improve his pawns and perhaps break eventually. He's starting with king f6, bringing the king into the center. Just white has got no plans but to wait. This looks like a matter of technique. 1.5 minutes to Hikaru.
Yeah, on the other hand, the good thing for Fedoseev is that, yeah, his position looks very bad. However, this bishop from b5 protects all the weaknesses, the c6 pawn, the a4 pawn, and the e2 pawn. And Fedoseev wants to bring his king closer. Okay, now king f2 can be met by rook d1. This is Hikaru's idea, because exchanging the rooks would definitely ease his job. And if you don't exchange, for example, you move the rook to c3, then okay, rook h8 you can still answer by king g2, but in this case it's understandable why Fedoseev did not want to move his king from g2 at all, and he just passes with the rook along the c file.
And black insists on exchanging. If he does trade off the rooks, it will be all over for white. Black can also look at doubling on the first rank with a move like rook e1, rook d1, and try. He's gone for rook a1. I'm expecting the other rook to land on d1 next, Peter.
Yeah, and black has also this idea of pushing f5, f4. Just, yeah, that's why white had to play the move f4 himself, not to let black fix everything, and then white king would be in a terribly dangerous zone on g2. So f4 played. Let's take a look at the clock. Yeah, 30 seconds versus 41. Okay, I mean, this is Fedoseev's only chance if he can hang on as long as they get down to 10 seconds each, because then things might get out of control, but I don't really believe that he can do that.
And now he's got a threat of going rook g1. If you go king f2, there's rook f1, king e3, rook g3. So he's gone king f3, but perhaps just a move like rook h1 now.
Yeah, it's very unpleasant. Yeah,
On the board, very difficult to defend. And he goes, but now rook h2, king g3 was the idea.
Yeah, now white's king is cut on the h file. I mean, Hikaru goes back rook g7.
Beautiful. Now he wants to go rook fg1 and just mate with rook g2.
Yeah, and okay, now it's just all over.
King h2, rook g3, the other rook comes in, hits the e3 pawn, hits the h3 pawn. Hikaru is an absolute beast, and not Fischer saying that it's perhaps not going to be a very close match. The way it has started, that's a banging start for Hikaru.
Yeah, if it continues like this. However, sometimes you know that, yeah, you start beautifully and you are enjoying yourself that, wow, okay, this is much easier than expected. And then for 1 second you relax. Yeah, this is now game over. Fedoseev gonna resign.
Resign, just let's show why. I think they start almost immediately, but he was losing the f1 bishop with rook a1. You pick up the bishop in the next move. It is over for Fedoseev for the second time.
Yeah, it is
2-0.
over. Yeah, 2-0. But what I was saying that, yeah, sometimes when you start so beautifully and you did expect that, okay, I'm going to be the favorite, but still it's probably going to be tough. And then you suddenly start so easily, then you relax, you think that, okay, it's going to be easy. And that's when things can start to get rough. Because if suddenly Fedoseev by any chance starts to get a comeback, then he will get his moral back. And then the player who was leading might be kicking himself that why did I let a dying man back into life? This is now Fedoseev's only chance. But I mean, knowing Hikaru's experience and how monstrous he is in this format, probably he will never give this chance to Vladimir.
I mean, let's talk about chances later. First, Fedoseev needs to get that one win in. He needs to at least get into the match because right now, it hasn't started for him. He's played this 8-6 line. We've seen Magnus play it before in the Queen's Gambit declined. It's picking up in popularity, especially in shorter time formats.
Yeah, because you kind of disbalance your opponent. I mean, usually in Blitz, everybody wants to play a tempo his moves. He wants to get his setup where he has already played a lot of games. So in order that he can play the middle game phase also very fast and confidently. And with h6, you kind of disbalance him. The big question is, how well are you prepared yourself for it? Because once you play a move like h6, white has such a wide range of reacting to it. And you might consider the most critical lines, you check them a little bit, and then you kind of know, aha, this is this and that I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to get my setup. And then suddenly your opponent, like Hikaru, did something strange. He played this move e3 followed by knight e5, but it did get Fedoseev out of book after all.
And that's pretty crucial because then you make your opponent think a bit. Knight e5 was not possible because after d5, white hits on the d5 pawn. You have to move with your knight, and then white just simply captures on d5. So you can't take, so he traded on c4 and he picks it up with the knight, because picking it up with the bishop is not a good idea because then black would trade on e5 and perhaps trade the queens and then go knight g4 or knight d7. Not something you want with the white pieces. So instead, he picked it up with the knight and immediately breaking with c5.
Yeah, black breaks with c5. The big question is, yeah, after d takes c5, how do you recapture? Because if you capture with the bishop, then there is knight d6 check, already taking advantage of the two bishops. So after knight d6 check, Fedoseev probably wants to go king e7 and give the c8 bishop plus... he loses the right to castle. On the other hand, he wants to claim that I get a lot of tempies and my king anyway gonna feel safe, and I try to play very quickly with maybe some bishop b4. However, I'm not 100% sure. Let's just quickly see bishop e2. Bishop b4, one of the disturbing moves, can be met by bishop d2. And if I keep my structure, and look at this, finally Hikaru said, no, I don't want to do that.
Bishop e2, continues short castle probably, and then he'll continue with moving the queen, bringing the rook to d1. And black wants to play b6, bishop b7, but the problem is that after b6, white has the option to go bishop f3. So still not clear how black is going to complete the development. I have to say I like white's position again out of the opening. So he starts with a6.
Yeah, he starts with a6. Yeah, he wants to somehow get active with b5. On the other hand, b5 still can be met by knight d6. This is the big question, that whether after you have played the move a6, will you waste one more tempo on queen e7? But if you put your queen on e7 and later gonna go b5, then suddenly white has a very lovely spot with his knight on a5, and then you will never be able to get your bishop to the long diagonal. But Hikaru doesn't want to give him any chances like that anymore. Knight d6 played, knight e5. On the other hand, if he went hunting that bishop, then I feel like giving that check with knight d6 would have made more sense. But again, this is a blitz chess, and Hikaru knows what he's doing. He's playing fast, and probably that's what matters the most.
Although on the clock, we do see Fedoseev for a change has an upper hand. He's gone b5, and the point is that if you want to break with a4, black will have the option to go b4. So a4 is something you want to play, but doesn't work at this moment. So he's gone rook d1, taking advantage of the fact that it comes in with a tempo. Queen e7, the most logical square for the queen.
Yeah, bishop d2, this is the typical stuff. Magnus also loves this, and everybody who plays this structure, once you have the two bishops, okay, just play bishop d2, bishop e1. You develop the bishop to e1, it's very well placed, then you are able to come rook a c1, and you just play a long game. Then somewhere the break a2, a4 will be quite unpleasant for black.
Yeah, the thing is that when you take the structure of a6, b5, which Fedoseev has taken, he always has to be on the lookout for a move like a4. Instead, he starts with a3, stopping b4 for now, but always in the air. And after a3, rook d8, perhaps rook d8, rook c1 looks like a logical follow-up.
Yeah, finally, okay, Fedoseev felt like, you know, let me remove this bishop from c5. Maybe he's hinting at he wants to go knight a5, knight c4. Opening up the rook was essential for him. Yeah, Hikaru goes bishop e1, the typical prophylaxis. Then already knight a5, knight c4 makes no sense because it does not hit the bishop with tempo. So now he changes the idea with rook c7. However, if black has to slow down, okay, on the other hand, yeah, this is the argument that white's queen on b3 is slightly misplaced. I mean, whenever you play a4, you run into something maybe like knight a5, and then you have to put the queen to a2, and then there are some ideas like b4. In this regard, knight a2 is kind of the natural move. I'm not sure how strong it is, on the other hand, because now black has some tempos.
You say it's a natural move, but it looks like a very strong move, but not the first move that will come to a lot of us, because it kind of puts the knight on the corner. But I like that it's eyeing the b4 square. Once you see it on the board, you realize that it makes a lot of sense in this position. And knight d5, I still think he needs to go rook c1. He just comes back with the knight to c3. Does that hint that Hikaru is not very happy with his position?
I mean, I think he's happy. He's not happy with the clock situation because he's full 1 minute done, and he's down to 1 minute on the clock. He's leading the match. So the big question for him might be that, do I need to take any risk here, or maybe my opponent was simply faster in this game, and let me then be pragmatic. And this is now a very interesting moment for me, how Hikaru will handle this situation. Will he try to play objectively, like he has a small plus and let me try to torture my opponent, or he just says, okay, thank you very much, it has been enough?
I say thank you very much, it has been enough with knight a2.
Yeah, but it's not yet three times. And look at this, Fedoseev says, no, I'm 2 points done in the match, I cannot go for the repetition. But the problem is that if white gets the advantage, then it's going to be easy for him. I mean, I don't really see black having any winning chances. And yeah, white goes a4, Hikaru down to 33 seconds, breaks with a4.
This is exactly the kind of position you want to play a4 in, because now black has no way to go b4, no knight a5, which is why he had to stop knight b4 with knight d5. I really like the way Hikaru's played. a5 runs into bishop b5. You don't have time to capture on b4. White has solved all his problems. Again, I think white has got the upper hand because of the pressure on the b5 pawn.
Yeah, and now he has opened the rook. Yeah, before we have seen that the rook on a1 was not in the game. Now with the a file open, On the other hand, this is a very nice setup from black, this b4 pawn, because thanks to this seemingly stupid bishop on c5, he kind of protects. The question, will he be able to hang on to his pawn, because then white's bishop on e1 is kind of passive.
And now Hikaru putting the pressure. He's down to 20 seconds, but he's finding the moves to put the pressure on. He's got these two bishops. The pawn on b4 is very critical because it stops the dark squared bishop from coming to c3. A very crucial point, because if this bishop finds its way into the game, that would be very tough for black. Doubling up on the a file. Does he want to trade off one pair of rooks?
Well, the big question was for me also, at some point, did Hikaru have the cheapo with bishop c3, because there was a pin along the b file? Maybe it was possible at a certain moment. On the other hand, now black got really active. I mean, look at this. White has to be careful.
Hikaru having to be careful for the first time in this match, and down to 17 seconds. What's chat saying? Are we predicting Fedoseev's first win in this match or not?
Well, I'm simply not experienced enough in this speed championship that how much this 1 second really matters, because feeling-wise, you know, white had the better position. On the other hand, due to the time situation, it felt like, you know, black was the one who felt that, okay, with this time management, I have all the right in the world to play for a win, despite having the worst position. So I'm not the right guy to judge this. b3 stabilizing. On the other hand, if Fedoseev catches Hikaru on the clock and the position remains the same, then the two bishops will be easier to handle. I mean, it will matter at the end of the day.
Can he... I thought the b4 pawn was hanging somewhere, but perhaps not. Queen c2. But the thing is that this b4 pawn is always going to be such a big weakness for black. And there it goes. He picks it up because there's a pin along the c file now.
Yeah.
That looks like it's over, because if you take on b4, you take on c7 twice, bishop a5, queen a5, healthy pawn up. Life is good.
Yeah,
there we have it.
Life is definitely good. On the other hand, black has only one chance. Yeah, queen a7, very nice. He wants to go queen d4 check, exchanging the queen. Bishop f3, giving the b3 pawn.
That was strange. Not sure if that was necessary.
Yeah, but okay, now both players down to 7 seconds. I think none of them really minds if this game just ends in a draw. But let's see, maybe Hikaru just thinks that with this time situation, he will just flag Fedoseev already. I don't know.
Hikaru is a professional flagger. He's going for it. Or maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, we have no clue.
But strangely, he gave up that c pawn. There was absolutely the b pawn. There was no need to do that. You had bishop c4. You had moves like queen b5. Just keeping an edge, but like you said, doesn't matter when you're down to 6 seconds. And Fedoseev needs this game to end so that he can go on to the next one. Very important to get as many games in as possible. Wow, did he just miss queen d4? Did he just miss queen d4?
Exactly. I think he was simply annoyed that Hikaru is faster and he will try to play on as long as possible. And he suicided. Okay, suicided because he blundered queen d4 check. Definitely it was not voluntarily, but yeah, that's what happens if you try to be too tricky.
As Kasparov fan says, it's a blunderful life. It's a blunderful life, especially when you're down to seconds, my friend.
Yeah, okay, now he got some chances because it's, it's not corner pawn. I mean, but still, this knight is jumping. Yeah, and Fedoseev lost on time.
Wow, that's 3-0 to Hikaru. This is not a good start for the Russian Grandmaster. This is actually the nightmare against a player like Hikaru, because now Hikaru is really feeling it. He knows he's probably going to crush this. And there we go again. Is it going to be a Geico piano? Is it going to be, it's an Italian? I was going to say a Berlin, but of course, no chance.
Yeah, now it's even very hard to say anything because it's 3-0 for Hikaru. On the other hand, in the previous game, Fedoseev did kind of manage to put pressure on Hikaru, but he only managed to put pressure on the clock, not on position. I mean, the ideal scenario would be to do on both, because we saw that with very little time on the clock, if both get too short on time, then probably Hikaru is the boss.
That sounds
Maybe
sounds
Hikaru
that sounds like a prediction
the
for
boss
what's
anyway, yeah? That's what you wanted to say. Just when I said, that he's the boss with little seconds, then I realized that what am I saying? He's probably the boss anyway.
The boss, full stop.
Yeah.
True, but also, as the match advances, we do go to shorter time formats. So definitely things are looking bleak for Fedoseev. Hikaru, just fresh from his title Tuesday win, he's just such a monster in these formats. How do you beat this guy? I'm really... It's just amazing the way he plays these speed chess games. I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's very hard not to be a fan. I mean, he's really very, very impressive. The way he handles the clock and he handles this situation. By the way, it would be very interesting to ask him, did he deliberately leave this B pawn hanging? Yeah. Judging that, okay, he's down to 6 seconds on the clock. If he will try to win this position clean, then he might just lose because he doesn't have enough time. This is, again, something that comes with experience, that you know that, okay, just forget about this pawn because with 6 seconds, this will not matter. Or did he maybe just blundered it? We don't know exactly. But the way he kind of handles the situations, it's a big debate. If someone else would do it, I would say, definitely he blundered it. But with Hikaru, I'm not sure.
I had an interesting chat with him, an interview actually in Gibraltar once, and he said his main aim when he's playing chess is not to find the best moves, but the most problematic moves for his opponent. Just finding moves which, if you're precise with, you can combat, but you have to actually calculate and you have to be precise with them. So to be extremely practical and not take that much time. And I think that's what we see in these formats with Hikaru. He doesn't care about finding the most accurate or the best play, but something that makes sense practically in the position.
Yeah, and when things are combined, I mean, look at this. He managed to trick Fedoseev somehow. I mean, Fedoseev tricked himself. He wanted to get some trumps on his position by delaying the move h2, h3, but finally he didn't manage to be in time. Black developed the bishop to g4, and now he's pressing on f3. He can trade on f3. He can also maybe first start with e takes d4. I mean, all kinds of nice possibilities for black.
All kinds of nice possibilities for black, but which one is he going to go for? So he can look at, I think bishop f3 looks very logical to me, just trying to break the pawn structure, but then he's gone for d4, he's gone for the trade first. Why do you think he did that, Peter?
Okay, he just wants to make sure exactly to fix already some things, but it might simply be transposition of moves. I mean,
also after cd4, bishop f3, you have to take with gf because queen f3 runs into bishop d4. So that's a very important point. And now bishop f3 is much stronger because you spoil the pawn structure by keeping the queens on the board. And immediately goes c5, breaking it. d5 is something that you don't want to play because it gives the knight the square, the e5 square. But if not d5, do you trade on c5?
Yeah, well, I mean, somehow it does feel like the move d5 would be critical. On the other hand, b2 pawn is hanging. There are some c4, knight c5 ideas also happening. In this regard, d takes c5 was the safer choice for white. The big debate is how safe is this position with the damaged pawn structure already on the king side.
I hate it because once the knight would come to c5, e6, f4, which is why it was very important to not trade the bishop on c5, giving the way for the black's knight to come onto f4. It would be very dangerous. Again, I think Fedoseev is the one who's on the back foot here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And a4 played, I was expecting Hikaru because usually those are the moves Hikaru will never miss. Probably he would even go a4 in a bullet game just to destroy white's queenside structure and combine play on all flanks. Yeah, he captures on e3 now.
Knight c5?
knight c5, definitely gonna go knight c5.
Knight c5, hitting on a4, eyeing knight e6, knight f4. Just looks like a dream position for black. The big question is Fedoseev going to win a single game in this 5-minute segment? Currently, that's the question.
Yeah, I think the big problem is that especially when you have a bad start, then you simply might not be sure what to do against Hikaru. How do you score? If you try to pay attention of being very, very precise and very, very good, quality-wise, then you get done on the clock, you're going to lose because of the clock. If you speed up quickly, then you might not get in a good position and you're just going to be crushed by Hikaru. So it's those things when you start debating how to play, I think it's already over. So once the match starts good, then everything comes natural. You believe in your strategy. You see that what you have started with works, then you can stick to it. But if nothing works, then you can simply get into panic and then Hikaru gonna just crush you.
Looks pretty crushing to me right now, Peter, and I loved that move, rook a5. The rook lift eyes a jump on the king side as well as threatens to double on the a file. Now hitting the a4 pawn. The h3 pawn is weak. The f3 pawn is weak. Knight c3 trying to keep, and look at that. Look at that double attack. Just as I was saying, the h3 pawn is weak. He finds this trick. This looks disastrous for white now. That king is so unsafe.
Yeah, and one line just to illustrate how dangerous and how bad it is. Queen d5 runs into queen takes check, king e2 and knight e6, hitting the queen and getting ready for knight f4 check. And that's the problem when you have a bad structure.
When you have a bad position, everything is bad against Hikaru. Queen e6, just what a finesse. Rook b4 picks up the h3 pawn. Knight e6 I really like because we've been eyeing this f4 square forever, and I think knight e6 just makes so much sense right now.
Yeah, knight e6 played. And well, this is looking just awful. I mean,
how does he find moves like a5, a4, rook a5 in less than a second? Just completely with the black pieces crushing his opponent.
Yeah, but I think that, you know, it comes very naturally and it's very easy for him. The big question is how to keep him under control so that he doesn't get such possibilities. That's I think the big question. And so far, Fedoseev is not able to get the answer to that question because, I mean, he tries to speed up, but then his quality of play suffers. If he tries to play according to position, then the clock was the problem. Hikaru is just dominating in every aspect so far.
Calling it a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, we don't like saying too early something, but it does look like that this is just game over. Look at white's king. I mean, when finally Hikaru will hit on a3 or will get his queen back to e5, there will be a lot of problems for.
And Hikaru definitely calculating rook a3 here, but not sure if it works because after rook a3, knight a8, rook a2, you do have the option to go king c3. Looks very dangerous, but then you have queen e5. Maybe we see rook a3 on the board. Also the score, rook a3 on the board, Peter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, Hikaru did spend like 10 seconds for it, just triple checking it, but he sees that if you have to go king c3 and I get the tempo with queen e5 check, then it's no way it's not going to be game over. And king c1.
King c1 is an option because rook a1 is met by rook b1, so it's not over yet. Hikaru can, of course, take on a8 simply, and he's gone for that. Still a very difficult position for white. That king is just blown open.
Yeah, completely, and there is nowhere to hide. I mean, there are all kinds of rook a2, still queen e5. Everything is hanging in the air.
Rook a2 on the board. Is he going to go? He can't go rook e2 because there's knight d3 check. Just what an awful position. And rook f2 is coming. Rook b2, only way to fight it. Is he going to repeat this position?
Well, maybe with 35 seconds on the... No, Hikaru never. Just never.
He doesn't want it. He's also got a 3-0 advantage, Peter. So I think he's in that position where he can take that extra risk right now.
But look at this, the h-pawn runs. I mean, this does remind me on my game against Vladimir Kramnik from the Legends, when he sacrificed the piece and I felt like, okay, there is no way he's going to have perpetual check, and I just had a hallucination that he's not having a perpetual check, he's just winning his h-pawn. But at least Fedoseev definitely has a much better position than what I had there. Yeah. But still very bad.
King h8. This h-pawn is where the party's at. This h-pawn is the danger, and he can just... He's gone queen d6. I like this. Centralizing the queen, defending against any checks that might happen. h3 coming up next.
Yeah,
Queen h3 might be a sneaky idea.
Stopped by White's king is just so open. Yeah, queen a6. Finally, there is the doubling on the a file, and he's threatening to enter. Yeah, queen a2 check, then hits the f, even queen f1 check. Yeah, everything.
I mean, can we just admire queen d6 as a move, threatening queen d3, queen a6, queen a3? Just beautiful chess. Just placing your queen at the right square. Why can't we play like that, chat? Why can't we play chess like that?
It's checkmate. That's
my God, this is
it's a massacre. It's a massacre.
This is a massacre.
Yeah. It's on the other hand, it's pity, of course, because we would have loved to get a much closer fight. Now it's a big debate. It's not even a big debate. I mean, it does look like it's not going to be such a big fight. But what Hikaru is doing is extremely impressive. I mean, believe me, if Fedoseev would get a little bit of hope, little bit of chance, then we could see and admire why Fedoseev is here in the quarterfinals. But simply Hikaru doesn't give Vladimir any chance to find his rhythm, and he keeps on going. And we see how cruel is this, that you just lost and within 1 second the next game is on.
Mazetako saying, because we have a life, to my question of why we can't play like Hikaru. Hikaru has a life. Hikaru has a very rock and roll life. He's streaming. He's doing like a million cool things. He's really one of the biggest ambassadors of our sport. And then he's playing like that. So not sure about that argument.
Yeah, I think that first you have to be very good, and then you can start doing those things, and it might help you because you get good emotions, but the opposite will never work for sure.
But you're totally right. Vladimir Fedoseev is such a strong player. I mean, the way he played against Firouzja, the way he played in the Swiss Open and qualified for this event, he's just super strong. But he's not been able to find that one important win, Peter, which you need for your own confidence, because otherwise it becomes a spiral, a rabbit hole, and you become Alice, and then it's just sad.
Yeah, this is right now the situation. Yeah, it's unfortunately he couldn't settle in. He didn't find his rhythm. He didn't get the confidence, and like this against Hikaru, it's just a big nightmare. Okay, he is now again very fast, but he departed from the dark square bishop. Yeah, so we see in every single game that whenever he's up on the clock, it comes at the cost of the position. It's never combined, and that's the real big bad sign for him.
I'm finding a very unhealthy obsession with doubling up on the C file in this match. It really hasn't worked so far.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this position, it will never really work for black, because the a3 bishop targets the d6 pawn, and basically it ties black's position down completely. This nice little move f3 closes the diagonal of the bishop, so the bishop on b7 is doing nothing much, and you can really play rook c2, rook a c1, and keep going. But probably Hikaru knows how he should convert this, and there is no need to give him any advice. e4, exactly. That's what I felt like. If he did not play the move rook c2 a tempo, then he might not want to do it. And look at this, knight d1, knight e3, and then the knight goes to c4, hitting b6 and the d6 pawns together. Black's position is actually completely lost, strategically speaking.
Knight e3 coming up, but then you've got knight f4, and that is the point of knight g6. Knight f4, bishop f1, things are still under control. The most important thing is to get your knight on c4 and hit those pawns.
Yeah, and okay, with this pawn structure f3, e4 against the bishop on b7 and without any dark square bishops, I mean, in a classical game, one would just say that this is completely over. I mean, Black has no chances of surviving. In a blitz game, one could argue that maybe it's different. I don't believe that it's any different because White's play is so easy. And look at this, d6, d5, total desperation. If you ever ask anyone in this structure, he will tell you, I just never want to go d6, d5, but there was nothing else.
That's how desperate the position is. I totally agree with you, Peter. I mean, killing that bishop on b7 is suicide. But what do you do against knight c4? And of course, you want to answer it with a move like e5. Make sure that bishop is dead forever and crying for life. That knight on e8, I don't know when it's going to come out into the game. I don't think it's about classical, rapid, or blitz. This position is just a nightmare for Fedoseev, regardless of the time control.
Yeah, I mean, there are somewhere maybe some tricks, but even this trick, for example, I wanted to point out that queen c3 might run into knight takes e5, which not, because you are even pinned here. This is one more thing that in bad position, nothing works for you.
And knight g4 played. Okay, that's been a bit of a twist. So what just happened?
Well, Black went for f6, and I mean, White provoked with queen c2, and he had to go f5, and we see the en passant, and White is threatening knight take g4 is met by queen a7 check and mate to follow, because the a3 bishop cuts Black's king. It's a terrible disaster.
Knight e5, I really like this move. Now hitting the knight on c6, you have to go queen e8 because knight e5, d5 is game over after queen h7 is threatened. Queen e8, only move on the board. Looks ugly, but I get the feeling like something directly should be there. He plays knight g4, so queen f7 back again.
Queen d3. Okay, the problem is that Hikaru can do whatever he wants. Black is stalemated. Black has no moves, and every move just worsened his position. Very nice spotted by Hikaru, but okay, I mean, he has such a dominant position, it's not difficult, but I mean, everything what we have seen so far in this first 5 games, the first game, that was very tough. Yeah, when we reflect back on the very first game, that could have gone either way actually in this very big time trouble phase, but there Hikaru managed to succeed. He took the lead, and ever since he never looked back. Yeah, a5 played, weakening the b5 square. Now the b6 pawn will fall in long run, but there was just no other move.
Still, White has to find a way to break into the position, or does he just keep making moves? Because there's not so much time difference. Knight e5 again, you can't take on e5. You have to go queen e8 or queen c7. But I'm expecting queen e8. Queen c7 also possible. Why not?
Yeah, usually in this position, I mean, if nothing is happening, like something after queen e8, White can just go h4, g4, g5 and just crush through. So queen c7 at least trying to hit the e5 knight makes sense, but now he gets pinned with queen c3.
It's just slow death from everywhere. Knight e8, okay, supporting the queen, moving away from the pin. Queen c2 is a possibility now.
Yeah, too many good possibilities.
I like queen c2. I really like queen c2 because that forces you to go knight f6, and then you're again pinned along the c6, along the c file. He's gone king f2.
Hikaru gone king f2, yeah.
He doesn't want it.
Okay, now the big question is knight takes e5 a hope, or is it something that just basically speeds up the destiny? But I do believe that, okay, if you just don't capture, then yeah, and he goes for it. I mean, he has to.
He had to, which is why I thought queen c2 made a lot of sense to avoid this. But even this endgame with the two bishops is I like white, but you know, he's managed to double these g pawns, which might be something. Now bishop e7, bishop d8 is an idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, that how does black hang on to these pawns? Is bishop e7, king f7, bishop d8, knight a8 and defense, and then you go king e8, kicking the bishop back, and then you move the king back. It's sad, but
we might be seeing it, Peter.
Yeah, it's very sad, but it's probably the only way. And then white gonna go bishop h4, bishop g3, bishop e5, and then h4, king and g. I mean, it's horrible. It's just horrible.
Knight 8 and now g5. I like this move. I really like it. He solved the problem of his double pawns. Now he's going to create an h passer. The knight is a horrible defender against that. Look at that bishop on b7 doing nothing at all. It comes to a6, still has got no targets. The knight on a8, absolute disaster. Calling this a win for white.
Oh, and okay, now the knight is stuck forever on a8. This you can just resign. Because
chat, just sit back and admire this technique. Bishop f4, just killing that knight on a8, and now you simply advance with your pawns on the king side.
Okay, b5 at least, but b5 runs into bishop d3. Yeah, he has to sacrifice the piece. But okay, this is, I mean, the two bishops and the king should be able to fight against these two passers without any problems.
So a4, you can come on with you can come further with the king, but bishop c1 looks like the safest option. b2, you've got bishop d3, everything under control. The king comes in, starts picking up the pawns, expecting black to resign.
Yeah, he just goes king c3 and
a2, king b2, and if b2, bishop d3, because a2, you've got king b2. King c3 on the board.
I mean, okay, I believe that Fedoseev might be quite happy that the game is still on, because this was such a disaster, but his position is not getting any better. It's just that the game continues.
So knight a4, you go king a1.
Yeah, you go king a1.
And knight c4, you trade, or you go king a1? King a1 anyway. That makes sense.
You go king a1. We are also settling probably some bishop e2, bishop d1, just hit this pawn. Okay, after king f6, you have to make sure that you block with your pawns.
h4 you could go.
Yeah, h4. Because in fact, black is stalemated and he doesn't have any. Will he go e5? Maybe he has to try to break with e5, but no, e5, then you just lose like that. Okay, knight a5. Doesn't give any hope as well. Yeah, bishop d2 and knight c6, bishop c3.
Bishop c3.
And we even forgot about Fedoseev's clock, that he's down to 1 second. I mean, he's relying on his 1 second increment for the last 20 moves.
This is over, Peter, because now the pawns fall. You just pick up the b3 pawn. That's it. 5-0, chat. 5-0. What does that even mean?
Well,
what does that mean?
I don't know. It doesn't mean anything good for us. I mean, for now, as spectators, a part of that we are witnessing a Hikaru show. But yeah, there is no tension. In this case, probably Hikaru just can show his best because, okay, he can just entertain the public.
You know, Not Fisher is saying that Hikaru will throw one in pity. If it was anyone else, I might have given that a slight thought, Not Fisher. But yeah, if it was not Hikaru, he might have done it. But Hikaru doesn't believe in things like pity. He wants to win all of it. And it's so difficult to deal with this psychologically and come back. Fedoseev desperately needs to stop the bleeding. I just don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah, and the problem is that, I mean, even a couple of those would not really help him. Yeah, this is the situation where he really needs some wins, even ugly wins. It doesn't matter. I mean, just that you suddenly feel that, oh, thanks God, I'm back on the scoreboard, because, I mean, 5-0, this is just just a tragedy. I mean, because there is just
It's
no
a
hope.
tragicomedy, Peter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see the comedy.
Not for Fedoseev, not for Fedoseev.
Yes.
For Fedoseev, it's a tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's okay. Now, speaking chess-wise, I believe that White has a nice position. I mean, that is this b5 square. On the other hand, Black's knight on b4 is so powerful, which compensates, and also something like knight b5 always runs into some knight c2 fork issue once the c file is open. So White is not that comfortable exploiting the b5 square. And look at this already now. Black's pieces are perfectly harmonized. This rook a3 move, where is this rook really going? I mean, I'm not liking it. I would have expected something like rook d1, bishop e1 2 moves ago, not now. Now, is he losing maybe after cd, the knight c6? Is Black already winning material? I mean, this is exactly the problem. Once you start losing in online chess, you can go and lose forever because, yeah, and cd is on the board. And knight c6.
So I'm getting an update that actually winning counts. It's not just the margin, but the prize money, Peter, is split by the percentage of the win, by how much percentage you win the match with. So the winner of this match is going to get $3,000, but the total prize fund of the match is $6,000. So the remaining $3,000 gets split depending on the win percentage. So currently, with 5-0, Hikaru Nakamura is winning $6,000. Not bad.
Yeah, this is terrible. I mean, because this maybe adds to the frustration. Yeah, go on.
No, that was it.
Yeah, no, I mean, what I wanted to say that, yeah, that maybe adds to the frustration from Fedoseev, because, I mean, okay, it's not just the money, but simply when finally you look at the scoreboard, you feel like, okay, maybe I have lost to Hikaru because, okay, he's such a beast, but I put up a tremendous show, people will remember and so on. But right now, what people might be remembering is just that it's a complete wipeout, and this is not what Fedoseev wants to have his name connected with.
But it happens, and you know, we saw a big score margin between a win margin between Magnus and Artemiev, but I think the big difference in that was just simply the quality of positions that were happening, Peter. I think at least Artemiev, he was really putting on a show. In fact, I think he had so many winning positions and better positions, and I think that's the big difference, that there hasn't been one game so far where we felt Hikaru is in trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I already mentioned that what I don't like that Fedoseev is after the first game. I mean, the first game was a battle, but ever since it, and then the third game, he had some hope. And maybe now looking back, he regrets not have repeated there when Hikaru was down on the clock, just to get that one little half point. But that half point might mean nothing. On the other hand, when you have 0, then you would appreciate any half point, because then there is something that you can relate to. Yeah, then you kind of explain to yourself, okay, it's bad, it has been a bad start, but now slowly I'm trying to get out of it. But after 5-0, what do you explain to yourself? I don't think there are any arguments.
Also, look at the position. I think White is in danger here. I hate that rook on a2. It's not doing anything so far. The queen on b just looks like there's no real coordination in White's pieces, while all of Black's pieces are super active. And I actually like Black's position. How are you evaluating this one, Peter?
Well, I feel like Black is pawn up and has all the pluses of the position. I mean, this is not that type of 2 bishops that I'm dreaming of. I mean, give me one more pawn on e3 and the nice coordination, and I will be saying that, yeah, there are a lot of good news for White. And now it's just a complete catastrophe.
Knight b3. Queen c2. Is he going to trade off one pair of rooks? Does it? Because it's the only active rook in White's position. Why not just leave him with all the ugly pieces?
Yeah, and look at this terrible little rook on a2. I mean, completely out of play. For my mind, this whole started with the move rook a3, because that rook a3 move showed to me like, yeah, Fedoseev is completely out of shape after what happened in these first 5 games. I'm pretty sure that he's, you know, because this is one thing that once the match might be over, Hikaru wins big score and people will say that, yeah, Fedoseev had a bad day. I don't agree with this, because it was forced to be a bad day for him by Hikaru. Just if those first games would have started differently, Hikaru would have not been such a beast right from the start. We would be discussing about completely different issues. But now, having seen that Hikaru is dominating now, it's very easy to say that Fedoseev has a bad day. But I think it just gives credit to Hikaru.
I think just generally playing Hikaru in these formats is setting yourself up for a big shot at a bad day in general. You really have to be on your A game and top form to give a fight to this guy. And we see that happening. And I think, again, it's just about Fedoseev getting that one win in. But with this mindset and being in the psychological situation of being 5-0 down, and this game isn't going that well either, you kind of lose that self-confidence to be able to do that as well. And in Blitz, confidence is everything.
Yeah, especially in this format, when it keeps on going and one game comes after another, no time to recover. Because, okay, if there would be like in other tournaments, 10-15 minutes break between some of the Blitz games, then even though some terrible things happen to you, it's much easier to calm down. You kind of settle down and you understand that, okay, you still have so many more games ahead of you. But here that things are going one after another, you just don't get any breather.
KS Legionovo asking if Fedoseev is playing blindfold or what. He's not playing blindfold. He's just playing against Hikaru, and that's just always very, very difficult. And when you have a bad start, the first two games, you lose out on them. It's just hard to come back. And now he's just going to grab that knight back. I actually like both, but I think I would take it with the queen. And then you've got queen g6. You've got knight f4, so everything's under control. But Hikaru's thinking. What is he thinking about? Queen c5. Queen g6 is met by knight f4.
Yeah, that's not an issue. And
also,
look at this rook.
Look at this rook. This rook should not be called a rook. Now it can be called a rook. At least it's gone to a3. Do you want to go queen c1 now?
Well, if it gets to c3, we call it a rook. It's still on its way to becoming a rook, yeah? Yeah.
It's a crook. It's not a rook currently. So rook c3 is the threat. Queen c1 played. Queen d4 is met by queen e1. And perhaps after that, if you go rook c1, it's just game over. So you can't go queen d4. You're going to get checkmated.
But in fact, if you can't take on d4, then it's just game over, because even knight c2 is threatening.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean anything.
But queen d4, queen e1, king h2, rook c1. Do you see a defense, Peter?
Yeah, no. Queen e4 is strictly the only move, practically speaking, definitely. But okay, knight f6 now with tempo. Okay, this position is so hopeless that I feel like chess-wise, we should not be commenting this game anymore. It's clear that Hikaru has to be precise. He has to keep his head together, because just playing brainless, probably even the position is not that good that you can win brainless. But I cannot imagine any.
You can even, Peter, just take on e3 and go rook c1, and knight c2 is coming next.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, you just win a piece. You trade the queens. It looks that. Okay, finally the worst has passed for white. Just give me one more move, bishop c3, and we start talking about the position. But okay, queen b2. He captures the pawn.
e5. Just look at this position. This is just very depressing for white. Bishop c3. So queen b1 check, king h2 played, and knight f5. How is Hikaru finishing this off? Just hits the rook. Where is your queen going, Peter? Not yours, but Fedoseev's.
Okay, he's down to 20 seconds, so we are praising Hikaru a lot, but this game, okay, he's in the total control and he's dominating the game, but still, I would have expected him to finish it earlier. Let's see if Fedoseev can survive by miracle. On the other hand, look at Black's king on h7. Totally safe. That's what you need in time scramble.
King safety is key in Blitz, and that king on h7 is beautifully protected by everything. Just Black's position is so beautiful. And what is he, a million pawns up?
Yeah. And okay, let's just take this bishop on a1 and then it's over. Maybe Fedoseev will just resign. There is no reason to continue this with 5 seconds on your clock. Yeah, anti-design.
Wow. Wow. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, what to say? It's already the 7th game is in progress immediately. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how they are doing it. Hikaru just keeps the pressure on, always gets possessions. We are seeing the same line like in the very first game. That was kind of one of the best games. I mean, it was a natural game. Black had more or less things under control. It was slightly worse, but it seemed at some point that he equalized. And in this whole match, what I'm trying to figure out, did we see Fedoseev equalize any possession? I'm not really sure. That was maybe the only one. And okay, the third game was a little bit tricky, but otherwise, I mean, Hikaru has been so dominant right from the opening. And in this regard, I do believe that against Hikaru, because he's so good in this format, you need very, very good opening repertoire. I mean, you really have to make sure that Hikaru doesn't get this type of easily playable positions that suit him so perfectly. I mean, the approach Fedoseev is playing for this match, that let's just play chess without any concrete variation, is probably not the right strategy against Hikaru.
I agree with you 100%. And these are exactly where it's so easy to play with white. You know, you've got plans of bishop a2, bishop b1. But you know what, Peter? I want this match to get exciting. I want Fedoseev to at least get into it. And I'm hoping now that he at least brings in a draw, if not a win, and just stops this bleeding so that he can try with the white pieces. If this match goes to 7-0, I don't even know what we're gonna do. It's gonna be very difficult for everyone to keep a straight face.
Yeah, I mean, it's already very difficult, to be honest. It's, I mean, I came here it's the first time I'm commenting on this Speed Chess Championship. I have been expecting at least, I mean, it was clear that Hikaru will win the match probably, but I mean, knowing Fedoseev, that how resourceful, how dangerous he can be, and he loves crazy chess, I was at least hoping for some dramatic games, but so far I haven't seen a single game which was really dramatic. It was almost always one-sided, and that's what makes me sad.
You know what? This is just the 5+1 portion. So I kind of want to say anything can happen, but I'm not even being able to get myself to say it. But I still think that when the time control changes, Peter, there can be a shift in mindset. You know, we've spoken about psychology, about confidence, and it can change when you've got this new format. So let's not write him off just yet.
Yeah,
for the sake of our jobs.
What we are trying to say that maybe when the bullet portion comes, then we will see Hikaru stumble. Or I mean, it's not easy to imagine, but yeah, those are the match psychologies. Yeah, also that I mean, if the match would be close, we would be saying that now finally the bullet portion comes where Hikaru is just incredible. But now that he's dominating the blitz section, we are speculating that, yeah, if Vladimir gets to the bullet portion, then maybe we hope for some dramas.
You know, chat, when we were getting on this call for this commentary, Peter was like, I'm going to just enjoy this match today. It's going to be so exciting. It's going to be a close match, not the tension of the Skilling Open. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to. And Peter, how are you feeling about it now?
Well, should I say I'm not entertained? I mean, maybe that's too much, because, okay, I simply also know that, you know, in order to understand what is happening, we really have to say that, I mean, kudos to Hikaru. I mean, it's just amazing what he's doing, because it might be, I mean, one would get you look at the score, you realize, you think that, okay, it's so easy. No, it's easy because Hikaru is such a beast. And he's a spoiler. I mean, basically now Hikaru is spoiling our show, but in this regard, we should simply pay respect to what he's doing, because he's doing it so nicely. If we appreciate and we just lean back and are happy to be entertained by Hikaru's powerful play, then it's great.
Absolutely. Chat, are you not entertained? I have to say, I agree with you that this just shows Peter just absolutely how Blitz needs to be played and why is Hikaru Nakamura the world #1 in Blitz and why he's such a feared player. You just give him these opportunities, he makes it impossible to come back. And I think Hikaru and Magnus both have that ability in them, and they're just merciless. They just don't take any game easily, regardless of what lead they have. H4 on the board. So what is it that Hikaru really wants in this position?
Okay, he just wants to dominate. However, the big question is time-wise. Will he be able to set the complete blockade, or will black have the time to counter-attack? Because this pawn on e5 is loose, the pawn on h4 is a little bit loose. But if white gets the coordination, then black gonna be busted with this bishop on b8, and also the knight on f8 can be terrible. Imagine white bishop lands on c6, he gets pawn to h5 and captures with the queen back to d4, then nothing moves.
Knight d4. So what's bishop e5 is a nice trick. You have knight e4, then you pick up the bishop on e5 and you go bishop h7 check in the end. So you can't really take on e5.
Yeah, on the other hand, one feels like you need to take something. I mean, pawn on h4 is hanging, then also white gonna play probably the move knight c6. And the knight on c6 basically just cements the position. It will mean that, sorry, my friend, but not only your bishop is dead, your rook will never come to play, and your knight on f8 can also never move. I mean, it just complete paquete. I mean, it's terrible.
Dominating position again by white, giving up e5, h4, saying take whatever you want. It doesn't matter because that knight on c6 is going to cause a lot of problems. And even after queen h4, knight c6, suddenly you have threats like g3 and knight e7. The queen doesn't even have a good square. I don't even think it's possible for black to pick up these pawns and not. He's gone queen h4, expecting knight c6 next. Big threat of g3 on the board, Peter.
Yeah, and look at the bar run, because you already mentioned the move g3 wins terrible material. But the point is that the position was so hopeless, practically speaking.
Knight e7. Has he just not seen knight e7? What's going? Oh, rook on d1 was attacked. So bishop f3 before or after knight e7 had to be played.
Exactly, but now bishop f3 also protects against queen a4, so he can just capture the rook, and that's it. It's 7-0.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Peter, take it away.
Yeah, well, you know, I somehow have the feeling that when Fedoseev has the time, maybe he should just not resign in the completely lost position, not continue playing, but just like, you know, take 1 minute of calm, grab a water, do something different. I mean, just to get out of this shape of just sitting at the board and being crushed, yeah? Because if it continues like this, I don't know where this match will end. I mean, it might be a complete knockout and the arbiter should interfere and say, that's it, it's technical KO. I don't know, it's somehow, slowly it starts to look like that.
Wow, a technical KO being called out by Peter. But you know what? I think that switch that you're talking about is exactly what Fedoseev needs. And I'm calling it when we've got a time switch on the clock, when we go down to 3 minutes, we are going to see Fedoseev find some of that rhythm that he really needs. I think this 5+1 has been an absolute disaster for him. It's going to be very hard for him to score a single point, but I'm really hoping for a comeback of some sort when we go to another time format, Peter, because like you pointed out, he needs a universe change right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big question is, how do you do that? Yeah, you have to somehow try to find something that you are looking forward to. Yeah, basically at this point, when he will get the chance to have a little break after this 5+1 portion, then I believe his best strategy is try to forget about the match. Yeah, it had been an incredible disaster. I have lost the match. You have to acknowledge it and tell to yourself that, yeah, now I'm fighting for my honor. I mean, I'm not fighting anymore about fighting Hikaru. I'm fighting for myself, fighting for my resume, and I want to prove that, for example, the next session 3+1, I want to make at least an equal match in that section, yeah. And if you succeed, I mean, start getting some points, you still forget about the match. It's not about the match anymore. The match has finished long ago, but just in order to put up a fight.
I agree, and Fedoseev really does need to find a way to put up a fight. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on now. Bishop b2, cd4, ed4, cd4. I actually think that this is perhaps the best position that Fedoseev has got out of an opening, Peter, so far.
Yeah, but it's also very tricky. Yeah, black breaks with d5, you capture on e1, and now the big question, you go knight f4 and then captured on d5, or yeah, and Hikaru goes knight f4. I know this type of positions, often engine says that white has a nice edge, and engines often overestimate white's position. On the other hand, in a blitz game, if with black you understand that you capture back the pawn, white gets an isolated pawn, then you get out with bishop e6, you harmonize your pieces, then you might actually be just better. So white needs to be very, very precise in order to keep the initiative going.
So time is of the essence here, and white has got a few moves before black is able to get the pieces out. So the question is, how does he take advantage of that? He starts with knight e5, and after knight d5, I like the ideas around rook a3 and getting the rook into the game like that as well.
Yeah, that's usually a very typical motive with all the rooks on the board, because this type of positions often happen from other Italian position, that black has a rook on f8, white has a rook on e1, and then white goes rook a3, rook g3, and starts a terrible attack.
Fedoseev is building his position. I have to say, I really like what he's done so far. Definitely more in control than what we've been seeing in the past few games. And could this be that moment, Peter? Could this be that game?
Well, I mean, at least it can be that game where we see what Fedoseev is capable of. Yeah, because now he has good time management. He has a very nice, easily playable position. Also clearly have a better position. He just has a clear advantage. So everything is combined. And will he be able to make the most out of his chances? That's the big question now. Because on the other hand, I mean, these are the typical moments that if you would have this on in the very first game, I would say that, yeah, probably Fedoseev will start with a win. However, after this 7-0, we even lost the count already. One might have this feeling that he's so shaky that maybe even this position will not be enough for him in this mental state. But definitely now he's pressing.
Bishop c5, he improved that dead bishop from b2. And again, I like what he's done in his position. Knight d7, he's gonna trade that off or not yet. Goes rook a2, wants to go rook e2, hitting on e6. Very nice. Yeah,
and now the big question is that we have to see, because before we have seen it from Fedoseev's side, that when he had bad position, as we said, bad position have only bad choices. And now Hikaru is in the shoes that he has bad position. Will he be able to manage to get practical chances, or will he go down without any chances?
Picks up the a5 pawn. I'm telling you, this could be it, Peter. This could be that game when things change for Fedoseev, and we see exactly how you put it, what Fedoseev is capable of, the strong, just how strong he can be in these formats, because it's really just about getting that one win in. But I have to say that knight c4, it looks like a strong knight. Still a bit of way to go. I like queen e1, keeping the pressure on e6. He's gone for b6, stopping knight c5 or a5.
Yeah, g3, of course, it's very nice. You need to get a luft for your king. And basically at some point, white will probably should exchange his knight, because the knight on c4 is really powerful. On the other hand, there are also some arguments for knight f4 targeting the e6 pawn.
I like knight f4 a lot, Peter. I think that's what Fedoseev is going to go for, hitting the e6 pawn. It's a big target in the position. Hikaru Nakamura, chat, in trouble for the first time.
Yeah, and also we should probably mention that, you see, it's a blitz game. We might be thinking that, okay, blitz game opening is not so important. No, believe me, guys, in blitz, opening is at least as important, because if you get a good position, and believe me, all these guys are just incredibly strong. they get the advantage. They will play very fast, very confident, and it will look like, wow, I mean, they are just super strong. So that's why you need very good opening in order to put your opponent right from the start under pressure.
He's gone for your move, Peter. Knight e5 trades off the strong knight, rook e5. Does he want to go f4, f5 at some point? He started it. He started the pawn march, taking advantage of the pin. Perhaps the only way to fight it, g6. Otherwise, f5 was game over.
Yeah, on the other hand, I mean, after f4, at least, if black ever gets active with rook c8, then, yeah, and we see Fedoseev already getting into defensive with rook e2. I mean, making sure that black will not get enough counterplay. He gets queen d3 tempo, okay.
And rook c2 next.
King f7. I'm expecting rook c2, yeah. I mean, you have to change. On the other hand, queen endgame is not necessarily the easiest thing to convert.
Agreed, agreed. And also, especially now after f4, that king also gets a little weak when the checks start coming in.
Yeah, I was not such a big fan of f4 because usually this f4 is the move. It's very good if it wins on the spot. Like this, as in the game, black was able to stop it with g6, then you might compare it, you know, that who has benefited more from f4, g6. And once you ask this question and you get the answer that, aha, okay, in long terms, it's only beneficial for black, then you really, yeah, queen c8 on the board, he gets the c file and he wants to go queen c1. Is white really winning this?
Hikaru's got his counterplay. Now it's not so easy because queen d2 runs into queen c4. Your queen is entering anyway. h4, queen c1 will be played. And then he wants to go h5, Peter.
Yeah, so Hikaru makes sure that, okay, no,
yes.
I'm not going to give you this chance.
I like that. I like h5. And now queen c1, after you've stopped white's threat, king e2. I think black's got a lot of play. Queen g1 is an option here. He's gone for queen a1, keeping pressure on d4 and a4 both.
Yeah, this game gonna end in a draw, and this is exactly what I felt. Like, yeah, like when you are in a good state of mind, you win this position automatically. But when things have gone so horribly wrong, this might not be enough. And look at this. Is he in some kind of a trouble or not?
Peter, chat called it a draw way before either of us did.
Yeah, but how does white draw this?
Oh, wow. So queen g3.
Yeah, he had to go a5, but not that now he loses the a5 pawn with a check.
With the queen, you pick up the pawn with the queen,
yeah.
But you've got king d3, Peter.
Yeah, then I go queen f3 check, and then queen e2 check, and then queen e1 check, and take queen a5.
Oh, what a line. That is incredible, Peter, what you've just spotted, that black is going to pick up the a5 pawn by force with the queen and not giving you the b passer. So is Hikaru the one who's going to end up with an extra pawn now?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, no, this is terrible.
And this is the last game of the session, of the 5-minute session, chat. Yes, lots of oh no's in chat, in our hearts, in our minds, because this was really his big chance. Oops. I don't know, Peter. This looks, because we were just talking about how unsafe white's king is, but actually black's king, it's a lot safer. You know, it's hard. It's very hard for white's queen to start checking it without losing all those pawns. He just picks up the f4 pawn next after queen e3.
Yeah, he will lose now many, but he relies on this queen a7 check. That's his only chance. Yeah, yes. Hikaru does king f6 and king f5. Yeah, he has to make sure that he doesn't lose the b6 pawn. And once he activated his king, it does look, yeah, and the king enters. I mean, brilliant play by Hikaru.
As you say, yes. That was actually beautiful technique by Hikaru, making sure he doesn't lose the b6 pawn and brings the king into game. Did you see that? From f7, the king is at e3 now and just killing it. Just going to pick up all the pawns now. This is over. This is over. Who called it a draw? Not me.
Yeah, no, this is This
Peter,
is just, I mean, we have been talking about tragedy before. I mean, this is not the real tragedy because finally Fedoseev was very close of winning his first game and he ends up losing it. It's 8-0, finish of the first portion. It's a knockout.
8 games, 8-0. We're moving on to the 3+1. The good thing is that the players get a little bit of a break. As Peter was saying, the biggest problem with this format is that once you're in that spiral, there's such little time between games. You go game after game. It's very difficult to recover. I think this was a perfect example of that. And then when you're playing someone like Hikaru, who's not going to give you any chances at all anyway, he senses it, he smells the blood, he goes for it. We are going to be back, Peter, with the 3-minute section and the 3-minute portion, really hoping that Fedoseev starts strong there. And I think, Peter, that's going to be key. If Fedoseev does not start strong in the 3-minute section, it's going to be another massacre.
Yeah, it's looking very, very bad. I mean, I would feel that maybe he needs a cold shower, I don't know, but I believe that in Russia it's cold anyway, so it's enough to go to the balcony. I mean, he has to change something. Because the way things have gone, it's just completely out of control.
I think with that kind of a 5-minute portion, that itself is a cold shower for Fedoseev. All right, I'm hoping for a comeback of sorts. I'm hoping that Fedoseev is able to strike because we need a match right now. It's Hikaru all the way. We'll be back soon. Stay with us.
Hi everyone, welcome to the peek inside of the Queen's Gambit Accepted. I'm International Master Sopiko Goramishvili, and I'm happy to be here with you on Chessable. Even though I've recorded a lot of various chess opening video series, this is my first one on Chessable, and it is a lifetime repertoire, Queen's Gambit Accepted. Why Queen's Gambit Accepted? Back in 2017, when I had to prepare for the Women's World Knockout Chess Championship, I wanted to have something compact yet complete. This is how Queen's Gambit Accepted became the core part of my opening repertoire, and since then I'm using it successfully in my own games. The Queen's Gambit Accepted, QGA as we call in chess world, is an exciting chess opening. It is a combination of strategy and dynamism. And the goal of this course is to provide you with an exciting, sharp and reliable, complete repertoire against first d4 and first knight f3. Now let's sneak into the website and see how it works. Here you can see a lot of information about me, about the course, and this is a preview of the course. Now let's get into the chapters and see how it is ordered. I've ordered the Queen's Gambit Accepted in the following way. First, I'm introducing you to the opening, and then we have Quick Starter Guide. A Quick Starter Guide is an overview of the whole repertoire. So we cover the most important lines and give you a bit of feeling of what should you expect from the course. d4, d5, c4, d takes d4, e4, b5, a4, c6, a takes b5, c takes b5, knight c3, a6, knight takes b5, a takes b5, rook takes a8, bishop b7, rook a1 once again, e6, and knight e2. Now, this is the most ambitious line of e4 variation because it intends to play knight c3 and protect the e4 pawn and put pressure on b5 pawn. We cannot allow this. Now it's time to take the pawn. Bishop takes e4, and of course here white's main line is knight c3, but let's take a look at move b3. b3 is way too ambitious as we have a very powerful reply, knight c6, heading to b4 square. B takes c4, and now knight b4. We're already threatened to give check on c2 and regain the exchange back. White cannot do anything about it, so black is doing very fine in this line as well. Now let's see more solid option from white. Here you can see that we are covering all the lines, rook a1, rook a2, which is also very important. We have knight f3 and fourth move sidelines. And you can see we're covering a lot of options here. d4, d5, c4, d takes c4, knight f3, knight f6. This is the start of our journey to knight f3 variation. And here, let's say queen a4. This is intending to take c4 pawn as fast as possible. Then we go very interesting knight c6. After knight c3, we play knight d5, force white to take care either to take on c4 or to do something about knight b6. e4, knight b6, queen d1, bishop g4, bishop e3 to strengthen the d4 pawn, and after e6, bishop e2 and queen d7. You can see the annotations as well. Black successfully preserved the pawn and will put more pressure on d4 pawn after playing long castle. Here we go and push the button learn moves, and first we are shown how is the line, and then we have a little quiz. What shall we play after bishop e2? For example, here I told you not to be greedy and take the e4 pawn, but instead we should take care of development. So we go knight f6, which is correct move, and after knight f3 we're going to have a check, bishop b4, bishop d2, and here again we're going to take the bishop and then take on e4. This is a great tool to remember the lines, to understand the position, and to master the opening. I really hope that you enjoy the preview and overview of the course, and I wish you good luck in your games. See you in the next video.
Hi, welcome back to the French course. In this chapter, we're going to look at the quick starter guide. I will try to show the whole repertoire in a very compact way to take you through the directions and the main lines and the side lines, show you and give you a little bit of an idea of what I recommend where and what type of positions we are going to be dealing with. But needless to say, I cannot cover everything in just one video. So for more details, definitely study the rest of the chapters. But without wasting any further time, let's attempt to cover everything in just one video. So it's e4, e6, that's the French. Here, there is a chapter on the second move alternatives. I look at two main ones. I find b3 a very interesting sideline that I've discovered when looking for a surprise weapon for white. Very interesting. Here I recommend d5, bishop b2, and now knight c6. It's a very, very strong idea. The main point is that we play against white setup, and white setup here is to bring the queen out to e2, knight to c3, and castle long. And knight c6 stops that effectively. If knight c3, the idea is d4, and if queen e2, the idea is that now we take on e4, and after knight c3, we have this very strong move, knight d4, forcing white to recapture on e4 with the queen, not with the knight, and then win an extra tempo with knight f6. And having won a couple of extra tempi, this position is very good for black. Now this is my solution for second move b3. Obviously there's more details, but that's basic. And after d3 move 2, there's the so-called King's Indian attack. White is intending to develop the bishop to g2 and start an offensive, some sort of a reverse King's Indian. Here I recommend a very interesting rare setup after d5, knight d2, knight f6, knight gf3, the move knight c6. This is not the usual way. Usually the c7 pawn goes towards c5 first and only then knight c6. But this is very interesting. The idea is to push the pawn to e5, and if white plays in the same style of the King's Indian attack with g3, which is already, by the way, quite inaccurate, I propose to take on e4, play bishop c5, and after bishop g2, e5, castle, castle. We get this interesting position, some sort of a reversed Pirk slash reversed Philidor. A very good position for black. We had lost a tempo on the e6, e5, but it's not too relevant. The bishop on g2 is not well placed. It's staring at the e4 pawn. Black has easy development. The idea is very often a5, b6, followed by bishop a6. And what's most important is that our king is very safe, which is not the case in many of the King's Indian attack positions. But here it is, and I believe this is an excellent way of handling the King's Indian attack. And with that, let's move on to the second move, d4. That's the main line. That's what most of the players play. Now after d5, I'll look at 4 main moves. Let's look at them one by one. Now against knight d2, I recommend the line with c5. That's the main line. I think it's the best line. And myself, I played the move knight f6, but it's not as a kid actually, so it's not very good. I had to find it out the hard way. After c5, there are a few options: ed, queen d5, dc5.
And Peter, we do have liftoff already. We've started the 3-minute segment. It's a 1-second increment. Really doesn't count for much, the increment, but more importantly, Hikaru up 8 games, all games from their 5-minute portion, won by Hikaru.
Yeah, and now when we look at Fedoseev's decision, I mean, opening choice, then we see that, yeah, he kind of goes all in. I mean, he just wants no safety whatsoever. He just says, okay, if I'm going down, then I want to go down in flames. He goes for this modern defense, Fields defense whatsoever. I mean, it's a mix of everything with the black knight on h6, trying to say that this case that my knight is on h6, all this e5, f4, e5 advance doesn't really hurt me that much.
Peter, there's a thin line between all in and being on tilt, and you know, for Fedoseev to keep that under check is going to be a difficult call, but he has to start strong in this segment. This is something that we've been talking about. That's his only hope. And what is our evaluation of this position, Peter? I see that he has to pick up the pawn on c5, probably knight c5 now. Why is he taking time at this moment?
Yeah, I think he takes time because he realized that this is not the position he wanted, because in fact the opening went very wrong. I mean, it's a total disaster. Now just imagine white goes knight d4, goes then bishop e3, or now Hikaru first goes bishop e3. The knight on h6 might be just completely left out forever. The bishop on g7 has no, and now white gonna take takes d3, I believe. No, Hikaru goes queen takes d3. Okay, I would have expected the move c takes d3. Maybe then, not even maybe, black would almost certainly sacrifice the pawn just to open up the bishop.
He's opening up the bishop from the other side. He's gone a5, wanted to go bishop a6, which is why Hikaru moved away from the skewer with rook d1. Knight d4. Again, it's starting to look... Actually, I'm not sure, Peter. Black isn't doing that bad. I hate that knight on h6, but perhaps it could be, you could go knight f5 at some point, or is he trying to reroute it from g8 to e7?
Yeah, his last move, king h8, definitely has signaled that, but he also has to watch out. Yeah, knight b5 is a threat, so he plays the move bishop a6. Hikaru breaks the structure immediately with c3, while the knight is still far away from action. Yeah. Very well timed.
That knight on h6 is definitely giving some nightmares to black's position.
Yeah, and also this king on h8, I mean, it might look like it's just a very small thing, but there is a very big difference between having the king on g8 or on h8. When finally white will give a check on the back rank, then the king on h8 gets checkmated. Yeah, it's also something very, very uncomfortable. The whole opening, and now I have this feeling, you know, that maybe does Fedoseev pays the price for what happened to Hikaru in the semifinals in the Champions Tour, that Hikaru comes with the rage and he wants to just unleash all his anger on Fedoseev for being eliminated from the Killing Open semifinals.
Hikaru already unleashed all that anger in the title Tuesday, which he won this last Tuesday, Peter. It looks like he's just going at it and going for it. That semis was against Wesley, and he might be actually setting up a rematch with So with the way things are going right now. It looks like we might be treated to that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, I hate black's position again.
Here already we cannot expect any miracles. I mean, yeah, we don't like to speculate about final result while the match is on, but after 8-0, I believe everybody can excuse us for saying that probably Hikaru has sealed this already. No big surprises there. No, we are not spoiling anything. And look at this. I mean, again, the position is just so dominant for Hikaru. It's going to be 9-0. And the break didn't change the dynamics at all.
You can't trade the queens because after trading, white would have gone knight c6 and picked up the a5 pawn. So he takes with the bishop. Queen c6 is a possibility now. Are we expecting Hikaru to trade queens here, or no? He decides to improve his knight, which makes a lot of sense. He wants to go knight d2, knight f3, knight g5, perhaps.
Okay, it was a little bit slow. I mean, one could have the feeling that he had something more. On the other hand, it's very healthy because the knight on f3 protects the d4 knight. It also protects the e1 square and gives white a very, very nice, yeah. And white queens enters the position. I mean, how do you, maybe queen d6 is a threat, because how do you protect this pawn if you exchange it? I mean, I'm silent now because I'm expecting
Queen d6 an option here, actually. Queen d6 looks very strong.
Yeah, and king h2, yeah, that's the other move. I mean, okay, you are not spoiling anything by playing king h2, maybe then also to play h4 now, just to make, finally queen d6
He's
played.
gone for it. He's gone for it. I wonder why he wanted to move the king to h2 and not keep it on g1 before playing queen d6. Maybe he just found it after playing king h2. Bishop d3. So the point is that you want to stop the knight from coming to c2 after this queen trade. Otherwise, white would have immediately gone, but he insists, and knight c2 coming up. Knight c2, bishop c2, knight c2, knight c6 was still keeping things together. And this is what it is, Peter. The king on g1, I think, was better placed to go queen d6.
Yeah, it was better placed. The good thing for white is that he has such an overwhelming position. Now he can go, yeah, he can go for knight c6, knight b5, yeah, anything.
Knight b5. a7 has to go d4 now, just knight c2 or knight d3, even stronger, much stronger because it stops
But
d3.
he blundered. No, knight d3 run into knight takes a7 cheapo and king c6. Fedoseev gonna win his first game. Incredible.
That's a turnaround.
Okay, it's still very far from winning now that white gets his king to d3.
But Fedoseev better not mess this one up, Peter. He has to do it in this one if we want to see any.
But he's down to 5 seconds on the
comeback.
clock.
4 seconds, 3, he needs to move. There's a 1 second increment.
It's gonna be a draw now.
Yeah, because if you go king b5, white just picks up the d4 pawn. That's it, right? Yeah. It's going to be a draw.
No.
Oh.
Fedoseev says no. King c6. Does he want to lose again? Knight e4 and
Knight e4? Knight e4? Okay.
5. Yeah, he gonna lose. I mean, with 5 seconds on the clock.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but this is online chess, online blitz. Yeah, once you start losing and you face constantly incredible opponent like Hikaru, then there is the risk of keep on losing on forever. That's one thing.
I think if Fedoseev was given an option right now to stop this bleeding and just call it a day, or to continue the fight and trying to do something, I think he would happily take the first option, Peter.
Well, also we have seen this in his previous game. Yeah, I think that this is wrong strategy for him. That, I mean, he had 4 seconds on the clock. He did get a miracle chance a few seconds back, but okay, it's clear that if you not take a draw, you're gonna lose. And he suicided. Yeah, this means already that his nerves are also collapsing, because just there was no reason. I mean, make this first draw. Get the strength, tell yourself that, yes, okay, I finally managed, I survived, and get strengths out of it. Like this, that he took extreme. It was not risk. It was just craziness, that foolishness.
And I think that's what it was about being on tilt, Peter, because king c6 made no sense. You immediately give up that pawn. He had to go for the just pawn. Just absolute total heartbreak for the Russian grandmaster. This is just turning out to be a nightmare.
Yeah, completely, because I mean, it's clear that he has already lost the match. There is no way back. Yeah, and in this regard, then forget about the score. Try to understand how you can come back to play a good match at the very end. Yeah, and if, for example, okay, you got crushed at the very beginning, but then you prove that the last 1.5 hours, for example, you have been equal to Hikaru. That's, in my opinion, something that it does not make forget what happened before, but that's something you can still be proud of. But if it goes on forever like this and you just get crushed completely the entire match, then how you get any strengths out of it?
Talking about getting crushed, I'm liking White's position less and less. Just picks up the d3 pawn, and he's got an extra pawn. Doubled, but still, I like White. I like Black's position again here, Peter.
Yeah, it's a healthy pawn up, and the White Knight threatens to go to c5, but there is the d5 square for Black, so something like bishop d5 or rook fd8 first, because knight c5 runs into rook d1 check, so knight c5, it's not a move. And in fact, rook d1 check followed by bishop takes a2 and bishop d5 coming back with the tempo is a really huge threat. It might be much worse than it looks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Rook d8 played on the board, and rook d1 with these light square weaknesses. Hikaru is not going to let this one go. An extremely strong endgame. His technique has been on point. Fedoseev, definitely a bad day for him, but I have to say that Hikaru's made the most of it as well. He's not shown any mercy at all. Picks up the a2 pawn. The b2 pawn is going to fall soon. Rook b1 in the air. I just fail to see White creating any chances. Knight c3, you've got rook d2, so that doesn't help either.
Yeah, basically what I feel that Hikaru has turned this match into a one-man show. I mean, that's it. It's all about him, and all about him crushing and showing for the internet and for the audience how great he is, because that's this whole match is about.
And potentially his next opponent, Wesley, you kind of send a message that I'm really in form, in shape here. And you might have beat me in the Skilling Open, but this is a different format. Anything can happen here. And I want to say that there's everything to play for here, but it really looks like the match is actually already over with an entire 3-minute segment remaining, 46 minutes still to go. But that lead it's just very hard to imagine anything changing with that.
Well, actually, now that they exchange all pair of rooks, I mean, all rooks, I does have the feeling that thanks to the blockade, White can actually just draw this position. However, this is already not a big news. And look at this, he goes for the pawn endgame. Yeah, that was the other option. Where is this race leading us? So White has to go king c6, king g4, takes. Finally, both players queen their pawn. Black will be pawn up, but White will have queen b3 check at the end, capturing on f7 with a check, and might draw. Yeah, that's what we're gonna witness. I'm not making those moves yet, because we're gonna see it in few seconds.
That's it. Peter predicting the next 20 moves for us, chat. b4, h5, White queens first, goes queen b3 as he pointed out in the end, and picks up the f7 pawn.
Yeah, he has gone for f5. It's the same idea. I felt the other one was perpetual, but actually it leads to the same, because it queens, and now you cannot escape the perpetual check, because the queen on h1 is too far away.
And that's it. Vladimir Fedoseev finally pauses the bleeding, scores his first draw. Peter, it's important. I think this was important for him to do. Yeah, I don't know. But what is going to be very important is what happens in the next game, because if Hikaru strikes again, then nobody's going to care about this draw. He needs to make the most of this moment. find whatever courage he can and needs to win the next game.
Yeah, hang on. The game did not finish yet. Yeah, it was just Hikaru taking his time. But
The
I
story
just,
drawing the making.
yeah, I mean, okay, I just don't see any way of getting out of the perpetual checks. Yeah. Yeah, Hikaru taking his time. Yeah, he goes and draw. Yeah.
The chat is going crazy about this, Peter. They're calling it a historic draw, a national holiday, and so on.
Yeah, kind of understandable. Yeah, after all these 9 zeros. Let's see what this draw will mean. And in fact, there is just no break. There is already next game in progress, and Fedoseev continues playing the Pirts. And we see some very, very sharp variation. What is this e5? It's a pawn sacrifice. I believe Fedoseev knows what he's doing.
I am very unfamiliar with this, Peter. I mean, you say Fedoseev knows what he's doing. To me, it just looks like White has an extra pawn already.
And it's a central pawn. Yeah, I mean, it's a central pawn.
So, all right. So c5 played, stopping any ideas of knight b4 after c4. So for example, if White would have gone short castle, he would have gone c4 and knight b4. So he goes, if c4 now, you can go knight e5 or knight f2. Probably knight f2, Peter, just keeping an eye on the e4 pawn as well.
Exactly, yeah, that's very harmonious. So black switches with b6, but this already gives an answer to my question if Fedoseev knows or not what he's doing. No, he's definitely not knowing what he's doing. He just lost a pawn. He maybe bluffed it. I don't know, but this is completely lost. I mean,
while that
yeah, can you just imagine that black has a pawn on e6? We would still be saying that white is clearly better. Now imagine that without this pawn, how do we feel about this position?
That puts a lot into perspective. Knight e4, eyeing the d6 square, the f6 square just looks so difficult for black. I think it's possible that Vladimir perhaps just mixed up some openings, because I really never saw him get any compensation for that pawn or any initiative whatsoever.
Yeah, I just don't understand what really happened.
I mean, I don't really understand.
Everything happened in such a fast fashion that it looked like, you know, if you sacrifice a pawn like this, then you have to know what you are doing. But the answer was no, and basically it's not time to design. There is just no way to put up any fight.
If Fedoseev loses this game, that draw was for absolutely nothing, because really it's this moment, you know, when you're able to sort of calm down and change the result, because if he goes back into that black hole, it's going to be so difficult to come out of it. And just see no compensation, no play for black here, just a very healthy pawn. Knight, he wants to go knight e4 next.
Yeah, he goes f5, but the point is that even this g4 pawn is lost in the long run. Yeah, even white can capture like ef6, then play knight e4, knight f2, capture the g4 pawn, but you also don't have to do it necessarily, but that was also one extra option.
He simply doubles up on the d file and wants to try and trade off the rooks. And did he just give the f5 pawn for nothing?
I think he just felt like, yeah, and he designed. I mean, yeah, it's a total collapse. It's a total collapse.
Wow, Hikaru Nakamura, 10.5 to half. What is the scoreline that we are predicting here? I mean, this is just really taking it to another level of crushing. I don't know, Peter, what to say.
Yeah, this is the only line in which Fedoseev got a good position. On the other hand, there was a break, and pretty sure that if Hikaru did look at something for like 20-30 seconds, then it was this, or he consulted his second, because I'm pretty sure that, you know, yeah, this is online blitz match, so on, but Hikaru is so professional. I'm pretty sure that his good friend Chris Littlejohn is there and taking care that everything goes smoothly as it should.
Hikaru just throwing his pieces forward and not stopping. And although we do see that Vladimir hasn't taken much time so far, so bishop falls back to e6, knight c4 hitting the bishop on b6.
Yeah, these are very, very tricky positions, because if all this sudden activity which black was relying on with quickly knight g6, knight f4 backfires, and actually here it really backfired, then white gets a dream position, and it's going to be very, very unpleasant for black to play. I mean, I have never really seen black ever giving up the light squared bishop so easily in Italian. On the other hand, he was forced to do so.
This light squared bishop is something. It's worth something. It's there for life. Threatening the f7 pawn. If he's able to keep the central pawn sort of in control, Peter, I'm not sure how though, because you've got a threat of ed4. If white is able to consolidate the center somehow, he's just clearly better. You can't take on e5 because then knight e5 and then the e4 pawn is under a lot of fire. There's a threat of d4. If you go d5, you kill your own bishop. It's not what you want. So he comes back bishop d3.
Yeah, he comes back. I think this is also an incredible, very nice illustration of Hikaru's very big strengths in this blitz format. That it's clear that he mixed up something, and it's clear that things didn't go his way. On the other hand, he, instead of getting into frustration or depression, he doesn't show it to his opponent. He immediately makes very quick moves, which signals that, aha, okay, I have my own agenda, I have my own counterplay, basically putting the pressure on his opponent. But the light squared bishop usually in this position does mean that white has everything under control in long terms, and black's position is critical here.
Bishop c1, just keeping any tactical ideas of knight f4 under check.
Yeah, now white finally releases the tension, because it was just too bothersome to think about always that when we have black threaten with ed4, when this c6, c5 break gonna come and so on. But by exchanging on e5, black gets suddenly much more space, and there is no clear target on e4 because the bishop on d3 protects this pawn. But still, it does feel like black has much more harmony than before.
So hitting f7 and b6, queen c7, the way to defend both of them. Also, black could perhaps want to go to queen a7 and hit the f2 pawn at some point, just as an idea. So he goes f4, rook e7 played. All right, white is fighting for something, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the two bishops and you have such a position that you have things under control, then you are the one calling the shots. The question is how much you can do, but it does seem like
you need to move so many queen, because bishop g1 was a big threat.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remove the queen. Now somehow regroup, yeah, bishop c4, but I mean, bishop c4 very good if it doesn't run into d5. Yeah, d5 played immediately. Can black...
So he has to take bishop d5, and now you take on e2 and go queen c3?
Well, this is suddenly quite scary for white, I would
What's going on with that? Because you're hitting the bishop on a3 and the pawn on g3. The only move would be queen d3, rook d3.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the rook d3 is probably enough, because it gives you the coordination and it hits the knight. There is queen a1, nevertheless. I mean,
queen a1, yes.
Queen a1.
We're going to see rook d3 on the board, I think.
But then how do you stop queen g1 checkmate? Yeah, this is a big, big question.
Queen g2 or what? Not a move that you want to make happily.
Exactly. So Fedoseev taking his time, that's exactly what he shouldn't be really doing, but it's correct. This is not a critical moment. You have to think, because if he does stabilize, then he still has the advantage of the two bishops. The only question, can he play the move queen d3? Is that a move?
Queen d3 or queen f3, but queen f3 allows, he's gone for rook d3, he's gone for a risky line, and now we are looking at this queen g1 mate on the board. He's gone for queen d1. Okay, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. This is clever way if there is no tactic, and it seems like, yeah, bishop g1 check can be answered by queen takes g1. This is important. So no tricks there. Finally, he managed to exchange the queens, and
okay,
if he gets one stabilizing move, or if black has to go on the defensive, then white is the one calling the shots. Okay, with king g8, this is exactly what I meant. If black has to play a move like king g8, then white has chances to get the advantage. Rook b1 played.
And that's a nice move because it stops bishop f2 from coming in. And if pins the bishop, if you trade the rooks, then white has with no option. He's gone for it. So rook b8, bishop b8, bishop c5, threatening bishop b6. He has to go into the defense with bishop c7 or knight f6.
Yeah, important that g5 runs into bishop f3, because otherwise g5 would be good counterplay. Now bishop takes f4 runs into bishop f3, losing a piece, so he cannot use this trick. No, sorry.
Knight g3.
Bishop f3, just knight takes g3. Yeah, so the trick works.
So he has to go. Oh, did he just blunder then? Because bishop b6 is bishop d2.
Yeah, he blundered and he's down to 10 seconds. 8, 7.
But it still should be holdable for white without too much difficulty, Peter.
Yeah, holdable, but it was the golden opportunity. Yeah, that okay, you have such an endgame where you can torture your opponent forever with really good winning chances, and now we see it's just a draw.
That's just a draw. He's traded it off, and this is 11-1.
Hang on, he has played the move g5. Will he go h5? Yeah, king f3. The king has to go back all the way to h3. And yeah, there is nothing in the position.
So no way for black to make use of that extra pawn. Opposite color bishops, the players are just making moves now. This should end very soon. And we should be on to the next game. Hikaru, of course, is just trying to play on as well, Peter, as much as possible. Burn as much time on the clock. Less number of games. The professional approach in this format. When you're leading, you're trying to use up as much time as you can.
Yeah, but I think that in this moment of time, this is not really connected with the result, because he knows that he's winning the match anyway. I think it's more connected that less game means that he has to show maybe less ideas. Yeah, and he knows that he's gonna play the semifinals. So why give any extra hint for Wesley? Yeah, this is now not the most thrilling part.
What are you saying, Peter? That's the most exciting opposite color bishop ending I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, well, it could have been very dramatic if it would have been about flagging, but you see Fedoseev has also made a lot of pre-moves, I believe, because that's how he got his clock to 22 seconds, and I believe now Hikaru will just settle for a draw.
They're just playing on.
Yeah, but bishop h8 somehow signals me that he's gonna go bishop. No, I thought that it was just very nice inviting him for bishop h8, bishop a1, but
I'm telling you, it's just about burning the clock and taking away as many games as possible. You see that time remaining. That's the time remaining for the 3-minute section. And Hikaru with a huge mammoth lead, just burning as much of time as he can on that countdown.
Yeah, but let's just tell Hikaru that he's leading by I don't know how much. He doesn't need this. No, it's enough. Enough. They're really gonna play the 50 moves rule. Do we have the 50 moves rule here as well? I do hope so, because then we are close, I believe.
He's probably keeping 50 moves rule is on, and we see that now there are no pawn moves that are going to happen, so it's going to be draw really soon after the 50 move mark. As we know that it's not just about winning it, but winning it with as much of a big win percentage, because that means more money in the bag.
Well, I'm also not that sure if that's so important for him. I mean, definitely if you are winning the match, then it's also some kind of a priority, but whether it's now half little game more or less, I don't believe that Hikaru counts every cent.
All right, Peter, then I've given all the explanations that I possibly could.
Yeah, I also gave that maybe he just wants to play less games in order not to show any extra opening ideas. On the other hand, Fedoseev, okay, in the Italian, and this Italian was one of the things where Wesley has also put Hikaru under trouble in their match. So maybe Hikaru just feels like, okay, no, let me play one less Italian.
Did he just come down to 3 sec? Finally, this mega exciting opposite color bishop ending has ended in a draw. Hikaru Nakamura moves on to 11 points. Vladimir Fedoseev 1 point. And it's a King's Indian.
It's a King's Indian, but unfortunately Hikaru is taking the very, very professional approach. He already doesn't want anything out of this match. He just wants to play as solid as possible and really not show any big ideas.
I mean, he's got everything out of this match already.
Yeah, I mean, he has in the bag. Fedoseev, on the other hand, we can see from his opening choice that he plays the Peers, he plays the King's Indian. I mean, he's ready to take risks. That's not the problem. The problem is that he's not having enough points. And if you are already trailing the match so much, then this doesn't really bring you anything. But hang on, now CD5. Yeah, CD5, ED5. Did Hikaru maybe relax a little bit too early? Now something like knight a6, a takes b5, knight b4, and I have harmony and I might be slightly better.
Knight a6, a b5, knight b4. White will have to play short castle probably in that position.
Yeah, and for the first time, I'm very happy with Fedoseev's position. I mean, something taking on d5.
But he didn't go for it.
He didn't, yeah. Okay, he just grabbed the pawn. It's also understandable, but I felt like, this knight a6, a b5, knight b4 was so stylish and so much in the spirit of the position.
He's gone for it now. Absolutely. That looked like a really nice plan, but he grabbed on it immediately and he's gone knight a6 now. Knight d2 wants to come to c4 and eye that b6 fork. Or knight e4, knight c5. So two nice squares. I really like how Hikaru finds these maneuvers which just put his pieces on a much better square. And he plays them super fast.
Yeah, he does that super fast. On the other hand, I'm also very happy that now that Hikaru took this little bit too pragmatic approach of taking d takes e5 against the King's Indian, then it's nice to see him a little bit punished for it. Yeah, we want to see real big fights still, and we don't want to let Hikaru get away with as little effort as possible from the remaining games. So I really hope for Fedoseev that he managed to somehow punish Hikaru for this and get some strengths, and then we're gonna be treated to some exciting chess at the end of the day.
Well, bullet is coming up, so whatever is the score, that's always exciting to watch. So yes, but if Fedoseev is able to get that one win, then that definitely would be a big confidence boost. And what is going on here? Knight c5?
Well, black gonna be pawn up, and yeah, it's those type of positions where one can argue that, okay, is this winning or not? No, the answer is no, it's not winning. But I mean, you have at least as much winning chances as white has drawing chances. So we might be seeing another 100-move game.
That's a nice way to put it, Peter. And let's take a look at the clock situation. So Fedoseev 1.5 minutes, Hikaru about a little more than 2 minutes. If of course the bishops are traded and white is not getting checkmated on the back rank, 4 versus 3 is easier to hold. But with the bishops on the board, black has more chances.
Yeah, I mean, rook bishop versus rook bishop. I believe that rook knight versus rook knight is the best possibility to try to convert it into a full point. But usually we don't see too much or too many of these 5 versus 4 rook bishop against rook bishop. I did have it against Kramnik in the World Championship match, but there it was a very special situation because I kind of had a double f pawn. And it turned out that it was quite beneficial in trying to make slow progress. Now, without the double pawns, one can say that it's much better not to have double pawns, but we see that black's king is slightly open, and white is making good use of it by entering with his rook and trying to force some kind of concession.
And he's got to support that bishop with the rook, with the king, because otherwise you'll allow rook g6. So king f7. He's gone bishop e7. So rook g6 would run into king f7.
Wow, rook b5 blunder finish.
That's it. Fedoseev on his way to his first win in the match. He did it, Peter. He did it.
Yeah, I'm very happy for it. I mean, because okay, we want to see Vladimir also scoring some points, and not just some points. We hope for some more dramatic action in the next games.
Rook b5, Hikaru thinking, you know what's going on here? Hikaru's just going to burn out his time again, just reducing the amount of games he would need to play. And yeah, this looks like Fedoseev's first win. That's actually amazing, because that means that Fedoseev can potentially come back into the game and at least give us some more exciting chess. Hikaru continues to fight.
Yeah, it's not really a fight. You put it correctly that, yeah, he wants to burn as much time as possible. On the other hand, I think it also gives Fedoseev now the chance to settle in. Yeah, he's enjoying, because he knows that this is the position that you can never spoil, because this is just such a completely winning position. And he can somehow already get into this state of mind, enjoying that, he might be getting this chance of some kind of a comeback. Yeah, Hikaru goes h5. I mean, okay, what else? If you don't go h5, you design. You probably design anyway, but at least he wants to change as many pawns as possible. And one can argue that there is a wrong corner on h1. So this is Hikaru's chance. I mean, his justification why he keeps the game going. On the other hand, black collects the pawn without exchanging the rooks. So
as long as black doesn't trade rooks, which he's never going to in this game, he's going to win it without any problem. Now bishop f4 is a threat, but then you've still got, yeah, bishop f4 was a big threat, because rook g2, you had rook b3, rook a3 played.
But you know what, I mean, I would say that having had that position with the extra piece, I would have not preferred to get into this position. I mean, here at least white can play on, and it's black who has to kind of prove that, you know, I will be precise in the final stage of the game.
Peter, Fedoseev has to win this game. I mean,
bishop e5 runs into rook g5 stalemate. Be careful.
That is a beautiful idea. Let's show that, Peter, on the analysis board where he went rook e4. If bishop e5, that's stunning. That's stunning.
Doesn't matter how you capture, I don't have any move and it's a draw. So that's exactly what I meant. That, I mean, why on earth you had 3 versus 3, anything worked, and he still had a lot of time. Get into this position, okay, probably king g4, okay, now he's gonna push h5 at least.
But you know, I have to say, anyone would have just given up this position in this game a long time ago, Peter. I mean, hats off to Hikaru for putting up this fight, finding some resources and just going on. I mean, Fedoseev down to 4 seconds. Of course, it's a winning position, but he still hasn't won. He's been pieced up for...
Absolutely. I mean, it should have never been so dramatic. Okay, now it's not dramatic anymore. Rook f2, and okay, you just...
He cuts it off. The pawn is going to move. King g2, h3, h2 incoming. And that is Hikaru going to call it a day. Or at least a point. That's it. Fedoseev with his first win, Peter. I think we can all breathe again. A much needed win. He has to go for it this time again. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, basically I have started a new match. I'm only counting the score in the 3+1 section, and I believe that now the score is equal. It's 50%. I mean, I think this is, if some neutral spectators want to get the excitement out of this match, then he should just look at this from this perspective, yeah? Because, I mean, after all, there is some tension this way. Otherwise, I mean, Hikaru is anyway up 8 or 9 points. Who cares already? But now the 3+1 section is just equal.
Yes, but Peter, in the real world, it's 1 win and 9 to go for him.
Yes, but I mean, even just to mention it sounds already too brutal. I mean, the reality is too brutal, so one has to get into some fiction mood.
Okay, so king h2 played, and what's going on here? Knight h4. All right, the knight on f3 can't really move because the f2 pawn hangs, but you've got to trade this off, right? Because otherwise knight f3 is coming in. So knight h4, queen h4. I kind of like black's position right now.
Yeah, I think basically what we are witnessing is how Hikaru reacts to this loss. I think he already feels like, okay, why did I go for this d takes e5 King's Indian? I mean, it's not my style. It's not the way I'm playing chess. I don't believe in this approach, and I was rightly punished. So now we see the real Hikaru going after his opponent's king right from the beginning.
So queen e7, because white was threatening d5 at some point. You have to be careful with that d7 knight. You've got the f. So Hikaru's got this f file, and there's pressure along it. Rook f2 is in the air. d5 played anyway. So is bishop f5 what he wants to play, or bishop f7, keeping the bishop on the board? I think he should keep the bishop.
Well, it's such a special position that I'm not 100% sure. Also, bishop f7 might run into some bishop takes h6 tactics because queen g4 and then d7 is hanging. At the end of the day, d5 pawn was also hanging, so I have no idea. Maybe that's just a terrible tactics, but it looks like with this powerful bishop on b6 and the knight coming back to f6, rook a f8, it's very much in the blitz spirit to just go for this and enjoy your position.
Absolutely. Also, bishop f7 would have run into, I think, knight f5. So you definitely don't want to allow all of that with h6 tactics. So trades off, rook f7 and knight f6 is a threat. Is white going to trade on d7 and then go f3? Looks like that's where it's headed.
Yeah, basically had to, because if the knight gets to f6, then it's black who is on the attacking side. And now the big question, yeah, what should white do here?
So bishop h6, queen g4, rook g4, rook f2, bishop f2 didn't look that good. So he's gone for this trade, and now f3.
Yeah, but there is also, yeah, he goes f4. He wants to break the structure. There is one little dynamic in the position. Black can, after capture on f4, for example, maybe he even goes for something else. But yeah, rook f7. Something like a4, rook a5, hitting the d5 pawn, or also later with some rook f5 stuff, trying to hit the d5 pawn is also one strategy.
So what's the point after if white just simply gets greedy and grabs on e5? Does black go rook f1, paralyzing white's pieces?
Yeah, definitely.
He's gone rook f1. He's gone rook f1.
Yeah, white goes e6. Of course, if he's already pinned so unpleasantly, then let's get a nice pass on e6.
It is a very nice passer, Peter.
Yeah, it's a very nice passer, but Hikaru says, you know what, c6, it's not just trying to break the structure. Somewhere some bishop c7 check might also come. And if you play c4, then some cd, rook c8. But then I can maybe sacrifice the exchange. Then I'm going to go bishop e3. Yeah, now bishop e3, and white is clearly better maybe after the exchange sec.
So bishop e3, rook a1, bishop b6. He's gone b3, which I like because you can't take on c1, Peter, because you trade the rooks and go e7. There's no stopping the queen. And next he just wants to go bishop b2. Also looks very strong.
Yeah, also looks very strong if it works. I mean, I'm not sure yet. I mean, there are all kinds of bishop g1 check, rook c3 checks, or rook c3 first. I mean, suddenly white's king on g1 is a little bit under danger, but okay, always black has to watch out for e7. So
rook c3 is a very interesting move actually here.
But rook c3 runs into bishop e3. That's the problem.
No, also bishop b2 simply, perhaps, no?
Yeah, also possible. I mean, you really need, I don't know what you need, because bishop g1 check runs into king g3, and where do we end up? Rook c3 check. Let's continue the journey if we started. King g4. Are we getting mated or are we escaping?
That looks like the end of your journey, because e7 is coming in. I don't see how you can create another threat here.
Yeah, and okay, some just to show, yeah, g6, e7, h5 check, king g5, and for example, after rook g3 check, you hide on h6, end of the day, yeah?
End of the day and end of story.
Yeah. Okay,
So
Hikaru is
Hikaru-
taking his time.
Peter, I think Hikaru's actually, although I see that he's gone rook f2, something that the evaluation bar hates.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this rook f2 meant that something went completely out of control. Yeah, bishop c5. Now maybe rook c, yeah, rook c1 and it's all over, because if you move the rook, then rook takes c5, d6 will finish the game, and otherwise you are pinned. Now bishop e3 is a threat. b6 played. Okay, Fedoseev down to 13 seconds. He needs to spot some, maybe just a3, b4. Is that a plan? No, he goes rook c5.
I like this, and just take the d6 pawn, and this should be, oh wait, rook d2, e7, king f7.
And rook f4, rook f8. Yeah, that's it. So black has to go rook e8, and anyway rook f4.
Very nice.
Yeah. And suddenly we got a match. Yeah, why we couldn't have had this from the beginning? Yeah.
Suddenly we got a match, Peter. You might be overstating it, but yes, two wins by Fedoseev, and that's it. Hikaru resigns. Fedoseev scoring 2 back-to-back wins, definitely what he needed to do earlier. He's done it now. And see if he can get one more in the bag with this one.
Oops, and now he fell into some opening trap. He's losing on the spot almost. I mean, at least he gets a very bad position.
Can we just quickly see this opening trap as it happened, Peter?
Yeah, I just clicked unclick the auto update. So yeah, I mean, look at this. Hikaru immediately goes for some tricky line. Bishop g5, Vladimir blitzes d5 out, and then bishop f6, ef6, queen h5 check, wins the pawn back, and not just wins the pawn back, but also wins the e4 pawn. So white will be pawn up, and we'll have the better position.
This is a very, very well-known trap in this line. This is incredible to fall for this, but really, you know, in this time control and with the score situation, anything can happen. Very difficult position now. King b2 perhaps just here, or you don't even care about the check. Do you? No, you care about the check because the c3 pawn comes under fire, or he doesn't. So after queen a3, does he want to go? Don't tell me he wants to go king d2.
No, actually, he can. Why not? I mean, his pieces are so active. I mean, you just need rook he1 and you have everything under control. It's pawn up. I believe that the reason why Fedoseev fell into this trap was probably psychological, that he was so euphoric of winning 2 games in a row that he did not anticipate any danger in the very first game. He just wanted to tell himself, okay, now I'm ready to go. And then Hikaru immediately uses it. This is also, I mean, a special skill from Hikaru, that, you know, he's a spoiler. Just when Fedoseev thinks that he gets a chance, then Hikaru just stops him immediately.
This is really, actually, this is pretty sad and heartbreaking, because, you know, you finally strike, you finally get those 2 wins. And then when you're feeling yourself more in the match, just losing like this just takes away everything that you've just created, which is, to start with, not much. Knight d5, trying to hit on e3, but queen b7 falls with a check. Perhaps doesn't care about that, because even if you pick up that pawn with a check, the c3 pawn will fall next. He's planted the knight on c3, so that ties up white's queen on b3.
Yeah, but he wants to go, yeah, rook d3. He kicks the knight out. We see that the knight on f3 is just fantastic, because it stops any kind of invasion of black's rook on to e1. And if the knight has to move to a4, then it's probably the time to take on b7. But also, if you insist, you can just play a move like rook e3, but probably
He's gonna take on b7.
He's gonna take, yeah? You know him.
He has to take on b7.
But after queen b7, at least there will be somewhere some rook e1 check
Gone for it, Peter. He's gone for it.
Yeah, you know him too good, yeah?
I've been commenting on his matches for far too long. No,
Yeah.
but it makes a lot of sense as well that he went for this queen b3. C5 trying to break it, but it doesn't look like black has enough. That I really like that move. I really like queen b5.
Yeah, basically queen b5 seals the game because it's not just changing the queen, but also getting the c takes b5 structure, after which something like rook a3 will hit the knight. You will not be able to jump into enemy territory, and if you have to go back, then everything collapses. I mean, it's not just 2 pawns, but the whole position.
Yeah, and no back rank stuff because the queen was coming back to b1 in that position, and that's it. He's a lot of pawns down. These pawns are just going to march down the board. A4, a5. Just no way to stop it. And there we have it. There we have it. Hikaru doing back to his winning ways.
Yeah, Hikaru bounces back again. And if, guys, you are thinking that what is this guy talking about by the match is on, I started a new match for the 3+1 section. So that's what I'm only counting. And Fedoseev was suddenly +1. Hikaru kind of listened to the broadcast and said, okay, Peter, no, come on. If you can't like this, then I start scoring. And here we go. Hikaru won the game, equalizes the score, and the match is on.
I like it. Peter, let's go with that. Chat, let's go with that. Let's go with this as a new match, and let's see what happens in a 3+1 time control. So what's the score so far, Peter?
Then it's equal.
It's equal.
It's equal,
yeah.
So both players have won 2 games, and now we feel that okay, Fedoseev lost this game because of this opening trap, but otherwise he's already now in the right mood to fight. That's what we need. And Hikaru is playing something that he has been using during the tour. So this is finally an opening clash. Very interesting. I mean, this is exactly what I meant, that there are some hints for Wesley, because from this game, Wesley can draw some conclusion that he can see, okay, he might have anyway expected Hikaru had been using this against Magnus. In the Kiva finals, he was also using it against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave in their quarterfinals in the Champions Tour. So no big revelation, but still it's very, very interesting to see that Hikaru keeps on believing in this line. Because to my eyes, actually, all this line looks like, black has to be very precise. So I believe that Hikaru kind of believes that he has studied this position so deeply that he knows what he's doing. But still, to my eyes, it looks a little bit suspicious.
It really does. I mean, in general, on principle, you feel white's position is better, a better pawn structure. The d5 pawn is weak. The d4 square is very strong. And there you have it. The knight jumps into d4, knight f5. So he says that he doesn't care about the d5 pawn because at least he gets activity then. Is that the point, Peter, that after knight f5, bishop f5?
No, he has bishop e6 winning the exchange. Yeah.
So you can't really grab the pawn. And he wants to trade. So there's really no way to keep the knight on the board. He trades. Again, queen d5 not possible because of bishop e6.
Yeah, and now we see that this queen from a7 does a great job because the d4 square is so important. Let's just imagine black's queen would be on c7 instead. White would have a very nice way of just putting the queen to d4 and then slowly bring his pieces. And now Fedoseev says, yeah, your queen on a7 does, yeah, queen comes back, but let me try to look at your king, sir.
And he says, no, sir, because queen b6 defends that h6 pawn, which could perhaps come into attack at some point, bringing the queen back into the game with a tempo. Queen d5, bishop e6, queen d3 has to be played, keeping the bishop under control. Hikaru continues to hit that queen. And now he's sacrificed the pawn, but managed to get coordination in his pieces, and there's life in black's game. Peter, how would you validate, how much compensation is this for the pawn? Do you think it's full compensation?
I'm not sure about full compensation, but practically speaking, yeah, if the danger is more if white can develop some serious pressure against black's king, because otherwise white will not be able to stabilize his position completely. And now we see the last couple of moves. Also, Hikaru wants to make sure that he gets a rook to f4, which kind of stops white of advancing f4, f5. Now he grabs the pawn.
I really liked rook d4, Peter, because it stopped queen e4 idea creating any weaknesses on the king side. And this placing the rook on f4, like you said, stopping the advance, stopping queen e4, a very nice maneuver. So now he's leveled the pawns. There's no material deficit, and he goes on to pick up another pawn. So rook b1, the threat was to go rook b3, bishop h7. Hikaru defends that bishop with a4. I don't know how this happened, but he's the one with an extra pawn now.
Yeah, he's with an extra pawn because kind of Vladimir felt that he should go all in. He did not believe that just stabilizing would be enough, but like this, he has burned all the bridges. It's not just that he lost 2 pawns, but also this puzzle on a4 is very, very tough, and Hikaru is about to go ahead in their match, in their new mini-match.
Rook d2 coming in, rook d1 coming in. Has to go e6, trying to create some play. I like that move, trying to break open black's king, but doesn't look like it will be enough because the king has that hiding spot on h8 and rook d2. So ef7, you've got queen f7.
Yeah, so he takes and goes for e7, but rook f2, and then queen takes e7, rook takes rook takes f5 immediately. Yeah, it's just technically winning position. And look at white's king. It's completely, it's terrible.
Yeah, even if we do the maths, that's 3 pawns for an exchange. So that's more materially as well. White's king is completely open and weak and up on the clock.
Yeah.
Peter, Hikaru takes the lead in your tournament of 3-1 as well, it looks like.
Exactly. And now with queen c2, one has the feeling that this game will not even last that much, because you have to go rook f1, rook b2. Wow.
What, queen c1?
Queen c1, this is
king
checkmate.
h2 only move.
Bishop
d5, queen h1, and that is it. That is it, ladies and gentlemen.
That is it.
That's a pity.
Yeah, this giving up all the pawns, but I think that Fedoseev was hit by this rook d4, rook f4, and he didn't know. He wanted to keep on blitzing as fast as Hikaru did. However, that's a big trap from Hikaru. You just cannot keep up with Hikaru by the speed. So he should have spent some time. He should have spent some time to understand what is really going on. But we have no break. The next game is already on. And look at this. Fedoseev keeps on playing the most entertaining way, the most sharp way. On the other hand, also Hikaru goes for the Trompovsky. Usually the Trompovsky we have seen employed by Hikaru when he was kind of in a must-win situation against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave in their quarterfinals, and he's ready to use it again. What is this? Bishop to a6? To my eyes, black's position looks already horrible. Now knight d2, knight c4, it's almost strategically total collapse. Usually I would expect something like this might happen in a bullet game, but we are not yet there. Okay, all kinds of traps, tricks with knight f takes d5. So Hikaru says, no, my friend, I'm not gonna fall for any of it.
And this is the last game of the segment, Peter. So Fedoseev can tie in your tournament, but he needs to win this game.
Yeah, but then I'm not loving his choice, because how he gonna win this game, I just cannot imagine. I hate this structure so much. This is a completely lost structure and such an easy play for white.
Knight d7 played, so black wants to go bishop g5, but d6 pawn's hanging, so he can't currently.
Yeah, this knight c1 and knight coming to b3 hits the a5 pawn.
And how are you planning to defend that? Because I don't see a way.
I don't think you can defend.
Maybe bishop no, you can't even move the bishop because the d6 pawn is hanging. You can't move the knight because knight b6 is coming in. This is a very sad situation for black.
Yeah, but now queen a6, and the big question is, okay, knight b takes a5, yeah, bc or now, because, yeah, b3, he goes b3.
That's a nice move, Peter, coming in with the knight to c6 next.
Exactly, it's cementing the knight on c4, and now white got two brilliant knights, the d6 pawn gonna fall, everything falls. That's it.
Hope falls.
Yeah.
Because take a look at that score, and this is the final game of the 3-minute segment.
Yeah. How nice that we started a new match, no? And immediately Hikaru also felt like, you know, I have to play for something, because it felt like Hikaru was taking it too slow, like, okay, I already won the match, why to put any extra effort in? But then he understood that there is a new match, and he brings the new energy.
I think we keep the tradition and call it a new tournament in the 1-minute segment as well, Peter.
Definitely. I mean, ever since we started counting like this, I'm enjoying this match again.
96. That's a nice move. That's a nice move, because you want to jump in with your knight to d4. And of course, white would hate to trade there, because then your pawn structure gets really beautiful. And with this, you pick up the queen on c6, the knight on c6, and you've traded. I wasn't expecting that trade, but perhaps black didn't have anything better to do. But now, Peter, white looks like he's dominating this endgame with those two pawns.
Yeah, basically when your opponent plays a move like knight e6, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Hang on, but I have d6, queen e6, queen d5, and you spot it, you realize it, that it's so nice. That's all you need. Look at this bishop on e3. I mean, taking of everything.
And the problem was that queen d5, you had to trade, because I think e7 was threatened, so there was no way to move the queen.
Yeah, exactly, because e7 check, and then check and takes. Yeah.
You win the house. You don't want to trade this queen, but he didn't have an option, and now a very unpleasant endgame for Fedoseev.
Yeah, he continues.
Take on c4, go c5.
Yeah, c5, d6, just anything, just push those pawns and push them, baby, that's it. Yeah,
as Yas would say.
Yeah, exactly. Suddenly I remembered. I mean, yes. I mean, okay, just push them.
Just push them, baby.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, but look at this. Incredible that you pushed, but Hikaru fixed the pawns on the dark squares. Okay, thanks to the bishop on e3, keeps everything under control, but suddenly the pawns don't queen by themselves.
I mean, yeah, that's the most you could push them. Now you just got to breathe a little bit and see what to do next.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for black is that black cannot do anything and the pawns remain there. You can even go king f2, king e2 if you really want to torture your opponent. And that's it, because black has no moves.
Yeah, black literally has got no move. King d7, you've got rook b7 coming in. But at some point, white has also got to find a way to win something. So how is he doing that? What's the maneuver that improves the position?
Well, basically, you just don't blunder anything and your opponent will lose it by himself.
Fair enough, especially Peter when he's down to 8 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes g4. King d7. The king d7 is the move that provokes rook b7 check. King d5. I mean, it's really funny that, yeah, rook takes c3, because bishop takes c3 would run into d7.
And if you go bishop c5, white can go rook c5, king c5, d7. So he could not have taken on c5. Or even d7
yeah,
directly.
No, black cannot do anything because this pawn on e7 stops his rook from getting active. That's the problem. Fedoseev also down to 2 seconds. And Hikaru goes d7. He plays for the gallery. He goes for the gallery, yeah. That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Hikaru has won also the second segment. Very well played at the end.
He's won the second segment. He's taking this home. He's leading with 14-3. That's a crushing margin. We've got the 1-minute bullet segment coming up. And that's regardless of the score. That's always very exciting to watch, Peter, especially when Hikaru is playing. And again, anything can happen in the bullet. I think the match overall is over. Fedoseev has no chances at all of making a comeback. But in the new 1 minute segment, we can go the Peter way and call it a new tournament and see what happens. And that should be fun to watch.
Definitely.
We'll be right back.
Enthusiastic hello to all the chess lovers and the Chessable fans. I have also become one of them after making this course. I hope you guys are doing great in these tough pandemic times, and more strength to you guys. Let me introduce myself. This is Grandmaster SP Sethuraman from India, the Indian man with 3 names like Maxim Vasyal Lagare, who also has 3 names. I have a FIDE rating of 2644, and some of my notable achievements are that I have won the Asian Championship in the year 2016 and have been part of the bronze winning Indian team in the Olympiad 2014. So apart from that, I have represented Team India in various official events like Asian teams, world teams, and the Olympiad. I will be presenting you guys one e4, e5 with the black side. And in Chessable, I found this move trainer technology very impressive, which I will show you guys while checking the chapters. I have spent 2 months of time to prepare this course, backed up with thorough analysis by the engines. And I have used Leela Chess 0 and Stockfish 12 as an analytical tool. And I can assure you guys that it will be of great quality with top-notch novelties and remarkable insights with loads of explanation. So let's browse into the chapter. So these are the 29 opening chapters in the course, along with the exercises and the model games. So like I said, I have often trodden to the offbeat paths. So we will see one chapter in Ponziani, where even in some quiet sidelines, I have found some swashbuckling ideas, presenting my own theory, like let's say this variation with Bishop E2, a peculiar move, aiming for slow play. But here, like I said, I found a swashbuckling idea with G5. And I was intrigued by this move as there are only 5 games in the database. And it contains a lot of fascinating ideas. And such direction really motivated me to probe further. And you can see quite often in many of the systems, ideas like G5. So like, let's say even in the 4 knights variation, I have come up with the out-of-box approach. Like, let's go to the 4 knights, knight d4 variation. And here, as you know, like all the guys have been aware of this move, Bishop b4, which is the classical main line, which leads to tons of theoretical discussions. But I don't know how many of you guys know this move, interesting move, knight e4, a Bohemian approach, which simply sidesteps tons of theoretical debate. And I was really proud of this invention upon the research of this course, as I was myself not aware of this move. And when I probed into it into depth, I found many instructive and interesting variations for both sides. And I really hope after this course, this move will catch some fire, as it simply kills a lot of theory and it leads to highly tactical and dynamic play. For instance, knight c6, then knight c3, the race begins, and I will leave the suspense here, as you will see in the main course how it goes. And there are 2 versions, video and videoless version. The video version will be packed with full of stories and historical facts too. Like I have included many facts of the opening systems, which even I was not aware of. The history behind each opening always fascinated me, and you can find as well. So go for it, guys, and you will never regret it of buying my course. And I hope it will really be useful for you guys and benefit it in every way to approach e5, 1 e4, e5 in a different light, in a more aggressive light. And yes, thank you guys for patiently listening, and good luck with the course. My best wishes. Signing off from you, Grandmaster SP Sethuraman. Thank you.
I'm ready. I am supposed to checkmate black. Okay, I know that queen could go here, but then, the knight. The black knight can stop me if I go here. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Yay! I got it. All right, this is easy. Next one. White to play and win. Okay. Well, I can go here. Oh. Something with the knight. I know it's something with the knight, but I can't take this. Oh, why didn't I do that? Magnus Carlsen, Sergei Karyak in New York, 2016. I was in New York when he played this game. I should know what he did. I should know what he did. Okay, I'm just gonna go for queen here. Needs to be something with the queen. Queen goes here, then king can take the queen. What other pieces do I have? I also, I'm gonna try the queen here. And I did it! Yay! I'm just as good as the world champion Magnus Carlsen. That's the feeling I have anyway. I'm gonna study on Chessable every day.
All right, so we have the last 30 minutes of this matchup remaining. It's Hikaru Nakamura versus Fedoseev. It's been a one-man show. It's been a Hikaru Nakamura show all along. 14-3, as Peter was calling it. It is an absolute massacre. The 5-minute segment was just a disaster for Fedoseev. The 3-minute, we saw Vladimir find his pace a little bit, but still, Hikaru managed to come on top of that as well. But now my favorite part, Peter, coming up, the 1-minute bullet. Anything can happen in that. The one thing that can't happen is Fedoseev winning the whole match. But I think as a bullet segment, really, Peter, everything to play for.
Yeah, we should keep our strategy and just focus on the bullet. Forget about the score because, this 14-3. Basically, if you call the score, then you lose all the interest in the match. So let's not do that. Let's just think that the new bullet match starts from 0-0 and the players are about to start. Yeah, the game has kicked off. E4, E5, we see, we continue to see the Italian. Wow, the players are really blitzing it out.
They don't have an option. It's bullet for a reason. 1 minute with just a 1-second increment. Both these players have so much immense practice and skill when it comes to the bullet format. It's just amazing the class and the level that they can maintain with such little time on the clock.
Yeah, I think it's also very important that there is this one little extra second. It changes everything. I mean, the game automatically gets like a chess game, because you know exactly that you cannot do crazy things, then you will be punished and you cannot really flag your opponent. So you have to combine incredible speed with quite good quality of games. I'm liking this.
Speed with skill.
Yeah. And look at this, lot of finesses. I mean, this position could have easily happened in a classical game as well. The players are very, very precise, as if it would not be a bullet game at all. Queen c1, white insists on keeping this powerful knight on e5 because this is the whole point of white's concept. Black has all kinds of ideas, also knight d6, knight e4, but strange enough in this position, because white wants to go sometimes with g4 and so on, it's important to keep pressing this e5 knight as long as possible. And now we have seen a very dynamic exchange of pieces. And this d takes e5 structure changes everything. Now, black has this powerful knight and he wants to push his queenside pawns. On the other hand, white wants to go g4, bishop gc, f5, e6, but he always has to watch out for knight takes e5 tactics.
I think it's nice that he's kept the pawn on g2 and he's going for your idea with bishop on g3, keeps the king more safe. And in these 1 minute time control, it's all about king safe.
f5 is winning or not? F5 takes the... no, because queen e6 back. No, it's not.
F5, rook f5, you trade queen d5, and it doesn't pick up a piece on c4 because black has got queen e6 at the end. Queen d3, insisting that he wants to go f5. Next, rook f... It's all about white getting that break in with f5 and pushing those pawns, and black blocketing it. Black just using the blockade on it to be able to make sure that white doesn't advance those pawns. I think eventually, Peter, white will have to go for g4.
Yeah, definitely. And here we see g4, bishop g3, because that's the only way. And look at Hikaru is down to 8 seconds on the clock. But
And
now he got in d4 and knight e3. Now he's safe. Now he's safe.
And Fedoseev has got 15 seconds. Okay, this is turning dirty now. So he picks up the c5 pawn. Rook d2 can't be played because of knight f1.
Oof, wow, I mean, incredible.
That's
how
it.
quick Hikaru is.
That's it, it's game over. Hikaru takes the first point. I don't see a way. He's queened the pawn. He's going to just go, he's got knight f1 check. Probably just picks up the rook, and now queen d3 wraps up the game. He just picks up the b3 pawn, but a5 is dropping, so he decides to support that first. The king f7 now.
Now a4 wins, yeah. That's
And
it.
the point is ba4 runs into rook b2. It's game over.
Wow.
Sweet little tactic to finish it off.
Yeah, but this was a very nice warm-up. I think we all have seen what this bullet can give us. It's a lot of action, very nice quality game. Of course, at the end of the day, when the clock ticks down and you only have few seconds on the clock, things escalate, but it was a very good quality.
I think just watching Hikaru play bullet is such a, it's just an experience. I mean, just how fast he is. All these players are the best players in the world when it comes to these time formats, but really Hikaru is just a notch, feels a notch above.
Yeah, now it goes to c4. I mean, white wants to get knight e3 and then d5, and all of a sudden he gets very dynamic pieces. Black has to be sure that he compensates, and queen g5 was a very nice move, distracting white's idea. Now
Bishop h3 was a threat, so he needed to play bishop h5 to stop it. And queen f6 again hitting d4. The bishop comes back to b2 to defend the pawn. And now every time black goes on the g5, he's threatening bishop h3. So simply sidestepping that.
But now maybe I have time for bishop e6. Yeah, I stop d5, and if black gets one more move, rook a d18, then everything gets really harmonious.
And he's done it. I actually really like black's position here. You've got this d4 weakness for life. f4. Hikaru trying to disbalance things and just create a new dynamic. If the queen moves, he can go f5, which is why I think Fedoseev did not like that and decided to go for en passant.
Yeah, and look at this. I mean, it might be good for black objectively, but things are so messy and so out of control that anything can happen. Yeah, d5, fg4, knight g4.
Bishop g4 is queen f7 mate because of the bishop on b2.
Yeah, and queen take g4, queen f6.
Oh, wow, Peter, that's beautiful. Queen g4, queen f6 is also going to end in mate. So you can't, the knight on g4 cannot be captured by either of the pieces.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, this is what happened. Yeah, queen f6, queen takes g2 happened. He had to sacrifice the queen. Rook f3, rook e2 check. What are we witnessing here?
Okay, still looks like a bit of a mess, no, Peter?
Yeah, but I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this queen takes g2 check, but Fedoseev down to 8 seconds on the clock. What is happening? g5. Wow, I mean, brilliant game. I don't know. It seems like black is better, but who knows what is happening?
That was, I mean, 3 pieces for a queen. I think this needs to be analyzed much more in depth. Is white going to get checkmated, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it should be checkmate, but it's Hikaru who is playing the game. And Fedoseev down to 3 seconds on the clock. If he will not manage to checkmate, then Hikaru will somehow get out.
Bishop f5 in the air, so he had to move the queen away. Oh my god.
Yeah, now with this king already, white is fighting. Now white is out of the woods.
As long as white's king is not getting mated, he's good. And he's down to 3 seconds, Fedoseev. Such a complicated position. Rook g5. He has to be careful about rook g5 and bishop f5.
Yeah, just down to 2 seconds. I mean, how are these players playing this at all? I'm not sure.
Incredible.
Yeah, okay, finally Hikaru just wanted safety and he just goes for a draw.
Right. So just saying that, and that's it. What a draw that was, Peter. That's
unbelievable. Also, I mean, this queen takes g2 and then bishop d5. Unbelievable results from Fedoseev. I mean, incredible play.
That was insane. We need to look at that game later because it was just, what is this? What is this?
This is not Fischer random chess. Yeah, 960 or I don't know how to call it. What is this? But I mean, basically,
the madness doesn't stop.
White is already in big trouble, no?
It looks like, I mean, if you just put this position and did not tell anyone who was playing, it would, you know, people would think that these are just random players, maybe just unrated games. They would never think, I mean, what is this position?
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, you know, knight f5, king d2, followed by queen g1, protecting the e3 pawn. That's the way to go. I mean, I wanted to say, imagine asking Gary what is happening here. I mean, he would just tell you, no, guys, do this in the park, not on the stage. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the knight can't be defended. You move the knight, queen g3 coming in. That's game over.
Yeah, it's a total disaster. I mean, White had to keep his pawn on e3. That's why this king d2 followed by queen g1 was so important. And Hikaru wins the miniature.
Yeah, but I think this is just a very clear sign of Fedoseev just not wanting this anymore. He just wants it to end.
Okay, I'm not sure. This was such a disaster that after this, usually you feel like, okay, I have to prove to the whole board that I can do better than this. But suddenly he's lost immediately out of the opening again. Okay, this is actually, it's good for White, it's pawn up, but still I feel like White can be relieved that it happened this way. Because black has compensation here.
So White tries to open the position with f4, knight falls back to h4, and black keeps the tension.
And look at the clock of both players. They are both more than 50 seconds on the clock. I mean, what is this? How do you do that?
So after bishop f5, you want to take with gf5, I think, because ef5, do you want to allow queen c6 or queen b7? I'm not sure. So what would you capture with, Peter? It's actually not so clear because gf5.
Yeah, not so clear because, you know, there have a lot of tactics. After ef5, I was threatening to go knight g3 against something like queen b7 or queen c6, but then there was a move like queen g2, hitting my knight on g3, which I cannot protect. But I had some queen a4 check, winning the knight on a5, so it was a very, very messy line. But I think this position is also still a huge mess.
And White doesn't care about queen g7 because he always has rook g1.
Yeah,
so
but what he has to care about is some bishop h3, bishop h6, bishop e3 check.
That's a dragon of a bishop for sure. And queen h7 is such a nice move, threatening that. Queen b2 perhaps trying to, but queen h4 is also a big threat on the board.
Yeah.
Although after queen h4, you would have king f1. So queen b1 trying to create your own counterplay. After queen h4, king f1, and you...
But king f1, I have queen h5. Be careful. But then you have queen b5 check. Yeah, queen b5 check. Very, very important.
But that's just a check, right? After king e7?
Ah, king e7. Okay, that was a blind spot. Yeah, you have king e7, then it's very bad news for White. Yeah, rook h2, only way to fight.
So but after queen f3, king e1 only move. Rook f2 would run into queen h1 and you lose the knight on g1 with probably mate. So king f1 played. Black can at least go queen f3, but I think he definitely wants more here.
He definitely wants more. But on the other hand, if White takes on b6, then he's threatening queen e6 check. So it's not easy to find that.
They're repeating, Peter.
Yeah, they are repeating because Fedoseev is also down to 8 seconds. Yeah, he goes for queen d3, queen c6, queen takes c4. That's what he has spotted, that thanks to queen takes c4, he defends back.
Surprised that he didn't take on b6 instead. So bishop a6, queen e7, and and then now this is a draw because if you go to the g file, then white will have rook g2, but gone.
Then you go bishop g5. You have bishop, what? King h7, not bishop g5?
Also possible, but now you pick up f6.
Yeah, you pick up f6.
What a game. I mean, these two are playing on seconds, on less than 10 seconds for the last, I don't know how many moves, with a crazy position where either side could get checkmate in one.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what they are doing. And Hikaru lost on time. Wow.
Wow.
Does this ever happen? Does this ever happen?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
It did happen. It did happen, but it came as a shock. But what an incredible, I mean, now we are entertained. These bullet games are just unbelievable. I mean, it's a big mess, but you see when things get out of control, they are still playing such incredible resources and they see things. It's really fascinating.
Queen c6 runs into knight f6, so you could not have taken that pawn on c6, queen e6 instead.
Now black is just winning, I would say. I mean, it's bishop e5 and thanks to this...
h4?
Yeah, thanks to h4. Okay, white has to go knight f... I thought white had to go knight f4 and then bishop f4, g takes f4, closing down all this.
This is an angry Hikaru. Peter, this is an angry Hikaru.
And look at this, he's still 1 minute on the clock. What is this, guys? I mean, this is Speedy Gonzalez, I don't know which number of Speedy Gonzalez. It's craziness. I mean, can you imagine finishing off a bullet game with more time on the clock that you ever started? I don't know. It's maybe Hikaru feels like, okay, I need some new challenges, yeah? And that's what he's
going for. Can you just go queen h2, queen h1 now?
Yeah, he can and he will. Besides, also he can take on d2, which is maybe even stronger.
Because queen h1, maybe king e2, and you pretend like there could be something someday after queen e6.
Wow, so he plays queen h1.
Queen a1, queen e6?
Yeah, no, I'm not liking this suddenly. Okay, rook h2 check, and he has probably perpetual, but I mean, why do you do this?
Rook h2 only move, because queen d7 was a big mating threat.
Yeah.
Okay. But can he do anything more than just give a million checks with the queen?
Well, now he takes on c6 and has everything under control, or queen d5.
Queen d5, and that's it. That should be it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the knight goes back to e7, protecting everything.
And that's a beautiful knight. It hits c6, it keeps g6 under control, and just an extra piece. And with that, Vladimir Fedoseev resigned.
Yeah, and we already have the next game. We wanted to keep an eye on the score, but things are happening so fast. Yeah, I have no clue what's the current standing of the bullet game, but I'm just entertained. I even don't care about the score anymore.
And look at the kind of positions these players are playing in the bullet. I mean, just absolutely insane chess.
Yeah, absolutely.
17.5 to Speedy Gonzalez and Vladimir Fedoseev at 4.5.
So 3.5, 1.5, the bullet portion. At least now we know the score. Because we have the mini match, going. So Hikaru is +2. Let's see if Vladislav is able to start a big comeback, a big comeback. I have my doubts, especially because looking at his position looks like a complete disaster. I mean, white dominates the light square, so knight landing on e6. Yeah, black had to play rook h6. Now white collects the h3 pawn. He's gonna go bishop g5 with tempo, kicking away this, even bishop f4. Okay, just wants to make sure that my friend, this king will not run away. It will remain pinned.
Holding on to the friend.
e6.
Holding on to the friend. Knight g5, bishop e7, doesn't care, h4.
But how long you can hold on to the friend? And look at this. Hikaru 50.
Why are these players pushing the pawns in front of their own king?
Well, there was nothing left. Vladimir is trying to get square for his king. King b7, finally a relief. But it came at a cost. The whole position is completely damaged.
And he's also burnt a lot of time on the clock. He's down to 13 seconds, and Hikaru just continuing on his too fast, too furious mode. 41 seconds on the clock. Knight e6, rook c8 played. Just picking up all the pawns.
Just collects on g7, d7, knight
d7 hangs, and that's it.
Yeah,
d7. That's it. That's it, boys and girls. Rook a7, king a7, queen c7. 11 minutes of torture left for Fedoseev.
And it's already +3 for Hikaru, but White did get a pawn on h5. It feels like Hikaru maybe pre-moved, and Fedoseev was experienced enough after e4, g6 to go h4. I mean, look at this. These guys are real maestros of bullet chess.
Bullet chess. Bullet chess is another animal altogether. I think it's nothing like, it's the most entertaining, but it requires completely different set of skills.
Yeah, and this bullet of extra 1 second, I have to say that like this, I'm loving it. I mean, if there would not be any 1 second increment, I would say that I disagree with the entertainment factor, because then all this flagging and everything will appear, and I'm not a big fan of this. But here we see chess. And of course, we see blunders, we see mistakes, everything, but also we see the players, they are willing to play incredible, entertaining chess. They want to entertain the public. They want to have as fighting, crazy position as possible. Now again, is Hikaru just winning already? Takes on f4, bishop g5, and take the a6 pawn, or if queen h2, then bishop e3 check.
Or bishop e3.
Yeah,
he's gone queen e4 to keep queen h4 check under control. Otherwise, it was just lost after bishop e3.
Yeah, but this is...
Yeah, this is over. He has to go queen g4. Or queen f3. So that queen h4 check can be met by queen h3.
Yeah, check queen h4, check queen h3, and probably Hikaru will, yeah. I mean, given the match situation, he goes for this. I mean, otherwise, I believe he would have even played something else, but okay, he goes bishop e3, cements the bishop, and then g5, h5, g4. Like this, it will come a little bit slower, but it will come. And when black's pawn comes to g4, it's game over. So White goes rook h3, king f3. White set up this fortress. So maybe Fedoseev is escaping. No, Hikaru finds bishop d2, rook e3. That's it, game over.
Amazing. Just simply fantastic play by Hikaru. I mean, in seconds to just convert it like this with so much ease. Absolute class.
And now b6. I mean, look at this. This was like the final touch just to humiliate the opponent. I mean, you know that I can win in any, but I will take care of this little pawn as well. Incredible.
And he just wants to go rook g4 and rook g1 next.
White is kind of stalemated. Yeah.
Has to go something on g2, bishop g2.
No, it's resigns, yeah. I mean, Hikaru was ahead on the clock. So in fact, unfortunately, Hikaru is dominating so much this bullet section that we cannot even count the score. It makes no sense. Hikaru is winning this also with big time. Incredible. So let's just enjoy what he's doing.
Just enjoy the master at bullet. It's actually a piece of beauty to see Hikaru play bullet.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very good quality, incredible vision. He sees everything. Of course, you cannot play perfect game. That's not, but everything, the whole picture combined is very, very nice. It pleases the eyes and it pleases the brain as well.
Knight g5. The idea was queen f4, so he had to hit the knight immediately. Knight f5. Is knight a4 coming in now? What happened?
Yeah, but okay, he can capture on a4, but now the queen enters from the knight g4 combined with some, and the bishop a5. I mean, many things are.
What happens after bishop a5, Peter?
Yeah, you have to go queen a7, as sad as it is.
Okay, but at least you're not losing the piece. So bishop a5, he still has queen a7, and he sacrifices. Oh, wow. Okay. Knight e5 is met by rook c8, so you can't go knight e5. Hitting the d4 bishop, hitting the d3 pawn, queen d3 check.
Wow, b6. That's surprising.
Expecting that.
Because actually now the d3 pawn was strange enough more important to get the diagonal and get the king to h7. Now,
yeah, now your rook on h8 is so ugly. Knight f6, important move. You want to play king h7 as fast as you can, but he says no. Fedoseev going for knight d5, knight b4 now. I don't know what he wants.
No, he wants to stabilize, but I mean also again here instead of knight d5, he could have played queen d5, forcing the exchange of queens maybe. But I mean, I don't want to criticize any of their moves. This is bullet chess. And I mean, what they are doing is incredible, because also Fedoseev, to my eyes and to my mind, he plays a brilliant bullet. It's only he's unlucky that he's facing Hikaru, but otherwise exactly the same quality against anyone else would be quite hard to meet.
We saw that in his match against Firouzja. What a match that was, as well as his qualifying round in the Swiss Open that he played, through which he made it into the Speed Chess Championship. Just fantastic play by Fedoseev. But yeah, you're right. He's playing Hikaru, and that's not easy. So yeah, f4 isn't.
Yeah, look at this. Look, yeah, finally rook h6, because he needs some shelter for his king. He needs this g6 pawn, but it comes at too much of a cost. Yeah, queen takes e6.
This takes over. And now just bishop c5 next.
Yeah.
So you have to go rook b8, but rook b8 also you've got, yeah, bishop c5.
Yeah, that's it. I think by now slowly the problem of Fedoseev is that he feels and he understands that doesn't matter how good he's playing, finally it's not enough. Yeah, and Hikaru has taken over the complete control of this bullet section as well.
You know, I noticed in these bullet games, the way to go is to go h4, h5 with white and h5, h4 with black. The more you put pressure on the king and the sooner you start with the initiative, the more difficult it is in bullet for your opponent to counter that. Even if objectively it's not the best way to play.
Yeah, definitely. If it works nicely.
What?
Aha, wow. That was the trick. But does it work? I mean, knight g5.
I mean, if Fedoseev has already taken 20 seconds, it's worked a bit. So knight g5 here, do you take on f2?
Yeah, you take on f2.
You take on h2. Bishop g2 has to be played. Or even king g1. Bishop g2 has to be played because you take on d4.
Yeah, now bishop f4 and white finally stabilized. And this is where actually the piece should mean something, but the 30 seconds will also mean a lot. And very important that, yeah, black has the e5 square, so Fedoseev feels that in a bullet game he needs to get access to this e5 square. Both players rely on their feeling, on their intuition. They fight for the initiative. They don't count pieces anymore. They don't count material. Queen f5, that's the bang.
Wow, intuitive play and just going on with the tempo. And now black has stabilized the king position. And really, again, anything can happen in this. I don't think black is objectively worse here. Fedoseev down to 13 seconds. Black has a lot of pawns for the piece, Peter.
Yeah, unless black does not blunder bishop g4, and definitely Hikaru will not, then I cannot really imagine anything else than a 0-1 here. And then e4, yeah. But hang on, e4, queen a6. All of a sudden, knight d6, queen c8 checkmate is a threat. Wow.
Oh my God. So,
wow.
And there's no way to counter it. Okay, yeah, he's got to move the king. That's it. Hikaru's actually lost in this position.
Yeah, lost, but what does it mean lost? How do you escape with the king?
Sure. Rook f3 is coming. Rook f3 is coming.
King e2. Fedoseev down to 5 seconds on the clock, but he is about to mate Hikaru, so...
Queen b4 runs into queen e8, so he runs with the king. And the question is there a mate? Because if there's no mate,
then the game just goes on. then we don't know who is better and why.
Hikaru is 2 pieces down, but none of that matters because the white king is so exposed and Fedoseev down to 6 seconds.
Wow, look at this with 6 seconds on the clock, queen d8 check.
King d8, knight c6, but Hikaru says no queen trades, has to go for it anyway. And at least white's not going to get checkmated. But this is just a... So the point is that rook e3, you had knight e2. Wow,
Yes.
just look at the way these guys are playing. It's incredible, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, okay, finally there was some miss somewhere, but yeah, it's incredible. I mean, because if Hikaru keeps up the pressure, then this time is still very, yeah, and Hikaru resigned, yeah.
All right, so Fedoseev wins the game. He 5.5 to 20.5. Again, it's really not about the score anymore. It's definitely Hikaru versus Wesley So coming up next in the semis. But for now, we've still got, I think this is the last game of Bullet that we've got on.
Yeah, and how tricky it is. Yeah, I feel like, I'm jinx it always. Whenever I scream that, okay, that's it. This guy can never lose this position or that guy gonna win for sure. Then something happens. It's just incredible. I mean, this we have witnessed in the Skilling Open as well. I mean, with this time control, with all this craziness, with this entertainment factor and so on. Yeah, anything can happen at any moment.
And this is the most sober position we've seen in the Bullet segment.
Yeah, this almost feels like chess, yeah? Finally. because before it really felt like they just do pure entertainment deliberately. I mean, there was no reason for them, but they felt like, yeah, the match is kind of decided. Let's entertain the public.
Entertained they did, but at big cost because Fedoseev at 5.5, 20.5, that's a very, very big margin. But I think it all went downhill in that 5-minute segment and just no coming back from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like Black's position here, Peter. Just picks up the pawn.
Yeah, it's not just about the position, but yeah, it's the question who will get to the opponent's king first. And we see now Black played the move h6, yeah, making sure that nothing happens there on the back rank. If Black is able to start pushing the pawns, then it's just an elemental win. So White has to be very precise and create his chances in the next 2 moves. Wow, what is this? So Queen takes f5, Rook c1, Rook d8 would be checkmate first. Hang on, Rook e1. Rook e1. There was Rook c1, incredible win by probably computer because I saw the engine bar jumping. There was this incredible Rook c1 idea, Rook takes e1, Queen e3 check. And now it's completely out of control with this e7 pawn. But where does this pawn go? Black wants to get king closer to g7, Rook d8. How do you stop this pawn? How does White queen this pawn? He's threatening bishop b7. He's threatening
bishop b7, yes, or bishop e6. Bishop e6 played. Rook c2, and how is he going to keep the defense going? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Rook c1 was only because actually he would be happy to give the bishop, but there will be bishop d7 and winning because you cannot if you move the bishop, then White goes bishop d7.
Maybe he goes rook c6 but bishop d7 anyway.
Yeah, bishop d7 9, that's it. The pawn queens.
This is the last game of the match.
But yes, so okay,
wait,
then Hikaru goes anyway for this position, then there is still something to play on. But of course it's a technical win with a5, rook d7.
The king comes to f6 and he wants to go g5 or not, king e7.
Yeah, you just zugzwang Black's king and that's it. Can Black go king f6? But h5 will be met by h4, so no way to run. He has to go king g6.
Yeah, but still no way to improve. You just take on a5, right? And now you take on f5, b3, h3 will be... I thought he would go h3, but he's got f5, so it's all fine.
Exactly, yeah. And it's time to resign.
And
yeah.
That's it. Hikaru Nakamura wins the last game, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, incredible performance. It was a real pleasure to see Hikaru in action in his element, because really this format suits him perfectly. I mean, let him play as many games as possible instantly, and I mean, the guy is just doing incredible things.
Hikaru Nakamura wins the last game. He wins the match. He wins the house. What a performance! What a performance by Hikaru. Absolutely incredible. Crushing victory in the quarterfinals and moving on to the semis, setting up a rematch with Wesley So. Wesley So just won against Hikaru in the semis of the Skilling Open, and this is Hikaru's chance to avenge himself. And the way the two have been playing, I think we are in for a treat, Peter.
Exactly. I also remember that Wesley, before the Skilling Open, has beaten Duda in an incredible style, because Duda is also fantastic in all these speed championships. And I felt like, maybe that winning that match was giving the final confident boost that Wesley needed to bring to the Skilling Open, because that was also very impressive. So looking forward to that incredible match between these two extraordinary gentlemen.
And there we see it. We also see the margins with which these players have won. I mean, Peter, if you take a look, Hikaru beat Martirosyan with 21-5. I mean, that's so similar to what's happened today. I think the margin was something like 21.5 to 5.5 or 4.5. Very similar to what we saw in his semi-finals. Firuza Fedoseev was a 14-15, so a very close match and a fantastically played match by Fedoseev. Wesley So also won against your pupil, against your student, Peter.
Whom?
Oh, no, Abdus. Sorry, I got confused. Wesley So beat Abdus Satarov, and I confused him.
Well,
And
I have very big opinion of Abdusatodov, so it's correct. I'm keeping an eye on him because I think he is doing incredible things. And by the way, he did put up an incredible fight against Wesley.
Incredible fight, and we saw Duda beat Fabi and also with a big margin. So what we have on our hands next is Hikaru Wesley So matchup, an All-American face-off for a very, very exciting match. So join us for that. And meanwhile, consider going premium to support everything that Chess24 does. There's a 40% off. And in the other one, we also have Magnus versus MVL. That is another super exciting matchup. Peter, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, one of the strongest players in shorter time formats. I think he's world number 3 or world number 4. I'm not really sure, but one of them right up there. A phenomenal performance. He beat Lev in his quarterfinals matchup. Again, a very exciting match that was. So yes, we'll see you there. Consider going premium. There's a 40% off and you get access to everything on Chess24, resources to improve your own game, plus everything on the Champions Chess Store. We'll see you again soon. Good night. Good night, Peter.
Yeah, good night, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.